The story begins with a young girl lying on a bed and enjoying some procedure. The hero continued to perform intense actions to provide the girl with as much pleasure as possible. In fact, he was giving her a foot massage, and he did it like a professional. Perhaps the girl had been walking too much lately because she had varicose veins in her legs. That is why the guy decided to help her comb the meridian system, and the girl had to be patient a little. The massage session was soon over, and the girl was amazed at how the hero's skill was superior to other massage therapists. Next time she wanted to choose him as well. Seeing the girl off, the guy said that he would look forward to her next time. The elderly man turned to the main character, named Xiao Lu, and praised him for his excellent work, because now they had another satisfied client. Xiao Lu thanked Uncle Zhong for allowing him to work part-time at his spa during the summer holidays. At first, the uncle was afraid that a student like him might stoop to washing the client's feet, but who knew that his skill would surpass the uncle himself. Meanwhile, the time has come when the hero's work ends. And he said that he needed to go home to prepare dinner for Ling Ling. His uncle at the same time asked him to take good care of his little sister. Another elderly woman noticed that this boy was so good, soft-spoken and hardworking that all the female clients loved him. At the same time Uncle Zhong felt sorry for the guy because his parents died too early. Besides, his younger sister was waiting for him at home, and he had to work it's hard. Arriving home, the younger sister and brother begin to eat, and we find out that the hero's full name is Lu Dequan. He is 19 years old and a freshman, and his sister's name is Lu Lingling. She is 16 years old and she is in the 10th grade. The little sister noticed that her brother cooked much better than what was cooked in her school cafeteria. At the same time, the caring guy said that she could take extra, because at this time she was still growing. 3 years ago, their parents died in an accident because they were involved in an accident. All the money in his family was used to pay compensation to pay for their sister's studies. The hero works part-time anywhere. The younger sister loved the guy the same way she used to love her parents, because he took care of her. Although the work was hard, as long as he saw his little sister's smile, everything was fine, because dad and mom saw from heaven how he protected their family. Some time later, the hero decided to take a shower, and someone behind him said that he had finally found Mr. Blooming Immortal. Lu Dequan immediately turned around to see who was talking to him. What he saw terrified him, because the person quickly began to approach. The hero screamed from horror and surprise, because he did not know how to behave in this situation. A moment later, he moved somewhere, like an unknown world. Having opened his eyes, he could not understand where he was and how he got here. Suddenly, a girl appeared behind him and called Xiao Lu Mr. Blooming Immortal. She was glad that she had finally found him because it was incredibly difficult. The guy immediately began to deny that he was a blooming immortal, but the girl insisted that he was a Mr. Blooming Immortal who benefited women, the proof existing right in the sunflower bud behind his back. The little girl had to look at the bodies of 98,739 men to find the one. The alarmed guy still asked her not to joke like that, and wanted to know where he was. But she wasn't joking at all. I addressed the guy as a gentleman, a blossoming immortal. His heart began to hurt again recently, and moreover, more and more often lately. This statement shocked Xiao Lu, and he wanted to know how she guessed. This is all because the next generation of flower immortals will not learn the charming scripture of fortune until the age of 20, meaning he will die of a heart attack when the sunflower blooms behind him. The charming scripture of fortune is the highest canonical text kept by the god of creativity. It contains mysterious power. After millions of years the charming scripture of fortune will be passed on to every generation of blooming immortals. It is he who is the descendant in this era. Although he did not want to be called Mr. Blooming Immortal, but he still wanted to know, if he died, what would happen to his younger sister. And he wanted to find out from the girl what he should do to learn the charming writing of fortune. According to the girl, everything should be incredibly simple. Xiao Lu should then allow her to enter his body. A moment later, the girl flashed several meters forward with lightning speed, and seemed to enter like an invisible entity into the body of the main character. After that, she immediately asked Mr. Blooming Immortal not to worry, because she wanted to help him win the hearts of beautiful women, and the guy began to be pierced by a crushing lightning that covered his body and took possession of him, because he must bloom quickly. A few seconds later, the hero woke up and did not understand why his body was so heavy. Lin Lin was sitting on it, doing chest compressions because she was worried about her brother and thought that he might die. With tears in her eyes, she watched as her brother gradually awakened. And she was very happy, because he had just fainted in the shower, and she was afraid that he would never wake up again. The caring sister asked Xiao Lu to lie down and not rest, because she would bring him clothes now. Meanwhile, the heroes did not understand why he fainted in the shower. Gradually, he remembered moments from his vision, how an unknown girl possessed him, and that she wanted to help him win the hearts of beautiful women around the world. But he was skeptical about this, because it seemed to him that he had dreamed it all while he was unconscious, and believed that he lost consciousness because he was very tired at work lately. Looking at his sister, Xiao Lu concluded that it looks like Ling Ling has grown up. Suddenly, his face filled with horror and he saw something incredible. Above the girl was an unknown heart, and in it was the inscription 100%. A girl appeared behind the hero and said that after the master finished studying the charming scripture of fortune, he received a favorable system. She will help Xiao Lu see the level of women's favor towards him. Gradually turning his head towards the unknown girl, he met her gaze and was horrified. Because of what he saw, he began to scream furiously, as if he had seen a ghost that wanted to steal his life. When the sister asked what happened, the hero only replied that it was nothing, and he was just checking his voice. In a whisper, Lu Dequan wanted to find out from the unknown girl who she was and how she dared to enter his body. The unknown girl's name was Xiao Sun. She was the one who was responsible for the safety of the charming scripture of fortune. And she entered his body to help him learn fortune's charming description. Later, he can take advice from Xiao Sun on flirting. Due to the vague wording, the hero did not quite understand what she wanted from him, and asked the mysterious girl to simply return to his body and prevent his younger sister from discovering Xiao Sun. Xiao Sun instantly turned into a charming scripture of fortune, and said that this was not a problem for her. But Mr. Blooming Immortal must keep in mind, if he can't make the sunflower on his back bloom within a year, then even the gods won't be able to save him. Meanwhile, the caring sister found clean clothes for her brother. She asked her brother to change clothes, while she was about to go out. The guy was surprised to discover that she even brought him underwear. Confused, he now did not understand how to look into the eyes of his younger sister. Some time later, events continued to occur in the city spa. Lu Dequan thought about the fact that Ling Ling left home without even having breakfast. He was sure that yesterday she saw something she shouldn't have seen, so she was angry with him. Suddenly, Xiao Sun appeared and explained to Mr. Blooming Immortal that Ling Ling was not angry with him, the proof of which was that her favor towards him had not diminished. At the same time, the hero wanted to understand why his sister never had breakfast, although this is a favorable system, and it is certainly reliable, but this question still bothered him. Indignant, Xiao Sun explained that the favorable system is definitely accurate. If he doesn't believe her, then she will prove it in the future. Pointing her finger at one of the girls, the mysterious girl asked to test the system on a woman. An unknown woman came in and her favorability was only 50%. The benevolent Uncle Zhong immediately approached the lady and asked her if she wanted to wash her feet. It was true, she had been walking all morning and now her legs were hurting. In order to relax, she wanted to get an experienced worker who could help her avoid leg pain. A moment later, Uncle Zhong had already started calling Xiao Lu to serve the young lady. At the same time, the girl had already begun to wait for him in the room on an armchair. A hard-working guy was preparing warm water to wash the girl's feet. Seeing him, she immediately began to be indignant, because she believed that the boss was mocking her, because he could not be the most experienced person in this spa salon. The good-natured man said that despite the fact that Xiao Lu is so young, his skill has no equal here. Among the clients he served, no one remained dissatisfied. Of course, if she does not believe him, then he can understand the girl. Since boss said so, the girl decided to trust Xiao Lu with her legs. However, she asked not to deceive her because she is a streamer. If his skill is not very good, she will criticize him live. Immediately after that, she started broadcasting live and talking about how she had just been walking with everyone all morning, and now she found a spa and decided to wash her feet to relax. She also said that the boss told her that she would be served by a master, but she was very skeptical about him. After a while, she will test him herself, and then she will tell everyone if this guy has real talent or not. With an arrogant expression on her face, she continued to film the hero, expecting him to perform his services poorly. Xiao Sun noticed that the girl dared to look down on the master, and the blooming immortal should definitely make her lose her face, but at the same time, the hero understood that she was a client, and he could not make her lose her face. The mysterious girl gave the hero an idea that he should transfer the innate life force into his hands while he was washing her feet, and then an interesting thing would happen. A few seconds later, the girl had already exposed her legs, and she asked when the puzzled guy would start washing her feet. Taking one of the legs, he said that he would start now. He placed her up to her feet in the basin and asked if the water temperature was right for the girl. On the stream, everyone asked what Xiao Lu's skill was, but the girl thought it was average, and the boss embellished it too much. Hero knew that Uncle Zhong treated him very well and could not allow other people to ruin his reputation. Anxiously he began to think about what he should do to satisfy her needs. Just now, Xiao Sun told him to channel his innate vitality into his hands, but he didn't quite understand how to channel it. Suddenly, the heart began to beat faster and seemed to arm the hero with a new strength that he had never felt before. Feeling a surge of energy, Xiao Lu also noticed that his arm had become much stronger, as if entwined with a large number of small lightning bolts. Touching the girl's feet, there was an immediate reaction, which the hero had been waiting for. The girl caught herself and began to scream quite quietly. This surprised the hero, and he wanted to know if he had hurt the girl. Blushing, the young lady asked the hero to continue. At the same time, she did not understand why the master had such pleasant hands. She felt something that was very pleasant to her. To make it even more pleasant for her, she began to strain her legs to feel the massage as strongly as possible. The unsuspecting guy asked the lady to relax because it was difficult for him to give a massage. Fixing his gaze on the girl, he noticed something incredible. After influencing the girl with a massage, her feelings for Xiao Lu began to grow rapidly. A few seconds later, they completely reached their peak, namely, 100%. Out of bliss, the young girl even dropped her phone. For the first time in her entire life, she experienced a feeling where all the tension she had previously had disappeared from her body. Seeing this, the uncle was stunned. He watched in amazement as Xiao Lu massaged the girl's feet. Looking at his uncle, he simply said that he was washing her feet, because he had not done anything that could bring such enormous pleasure. After some time, Xiao Sun asked Xiao Lu why he didn't give his number, because the girl wanted to get it, and then he would improve his level. Everything was not so simple, and the hero has his own principles. He does not choose the first person he meets, because he has his own standards for choosing a partner. To understand the hero's preference, Xiao Sun wanted to know the standards of choice, age, height, figure, appearance, level of education, property, but Xiao Lu did not understand why she was writing all this down if he said this, as if later she would want to help him find a girl, which meets the conditions. This was indeed the case, and Xiao Sun would even be able to show it. Having written down the parameters, she pressed the magic button and began to generate girls that fit the criteria. Thus, several options arose for girls who met the criteria. There were 4 girls within a 100-meter radius with over 80 charm points. Xiao Sun decided to look at the profile of the girl named Ji Xiaoying. Her age was 21 years old, her height was 165 centimeters, and all the indicators were also indicated in the statistics. The mysterious girl was amazed that all the indicators except charm were bad, in which case the parameters should be set again to find the target with the best qualities, whose sum of 5 parameters exceeds 400 points. As it turned out, within a radius of 100 m there was still a girl who met all the search requirements. Looking at the girl, the hero was truly amazed by what he saw. After all, the girl seen and found was named Xia Xiaer, her age was 19 years old, and her height was 169 centimeters. Seeing the hero's reaction, Xiao Sun immediately asked if he knew her, and this was indeed the case. She is the president of the student council and a beauty recognized by all the guys at his university. But soon, he realized something else, and asked the girl to wait a second. After all, Xiao Sun just said that Xia Xiaer is 100 meters away from Xiao Lu. Literally a moment later, they noticed her in a passing car. As soon as the girl turned her head, she did not see anyone standing on the street. Xiao Lu hid fearfully because he couldn't help but hide because of what had happened before. It all started with the events that took place a month ago. The hero finally had summer vacation, so now he won't worry about finding a job. He ran joyfully along the corridor, and a girl passed next to him. Soon, their gazes crossed, and they looked at each other with fear. Unfortunately, the guy accidentally bumped into Xia Xiaer and she fell. At the same time, when he tried to help her get up, he accidentally started touching her where he shouldn't, which caused him embarrassment. Like the girl herself, who was lying on the ground and couldn't even say anything. At that time, he was afraid that he would not be able to explain himself clearly, so he ran away. In any case, he must not confront her, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. Love depends on fate, not on an empty date, so Xiao Lu wanted to handle his own affairs, and asked Xiao Sun not to interfere. Some time later, the hero began to walk home and went up to his floor. Suddenly, he discovered splashes of red paint on the door of his room. Entering the room, the guy found that his younger sister was in a panic, and he immediately realized that someone was bullying her. It was Zhang Hui. He again brought people and demanded to repay the debt, and also said that if they did not return the money in a month, he would take this house. What he heard angered the hero, and he shouted that their house belonged only to them, and no one dared to take it away. As it turned out, Xiao Lu's father borrowed money from one person when he was still alive. He borrowed only 50,000, but that person set high interest rates. In 3 years 50,000 grew to 1 million. While the hero was thinking that even for robbing a bank he could get less money, suddenly a message came to his phone. The message indicated that they were celebrating the birthdays of the employees, the staff responsible for relieving tension at the Heavenly Horses Center. The owner gave 28 gifts, namely an Audi, and 280,000 in cash. With sadness, he realized that they all worked in the service sector, but for some reason some earned too much. Suddenly, Xiao Sun told the hero that Mr. Blooming Immortal could also be one of them. After all, he can both earn money and cultivate a charming description of fortune, and this is great. This means that the staff responsible for relieving tension must make women happy. Realizing this, he realized that with his abilities, he could do it. Walking outside, he looked at his home and realized that no matter the price he had to pay, he still had to protect his family's home. Some time later, events continued to occur in the nightclub. The main character stood at the bar and watched the people who were in the nightclub. There were many of them, and they all sat in pairs and drank. With the sadness of the hero he realized that all the people here seemed very happy. The security guard knocked on the boss's office and said that someone had come to apply. Seeing that the boss was a girl, Xiao Lu was amazed and stunned by what he saw. The lady immediately asked the hero why he wanted to work here. He, in turn, replied that he needed money. Such honesty made the woman happy, because it is actually very easy to make money in this industry, but he must have equivalent talent. It is because of this that he must pass the test. The woman also noticed that the hero has good facial features. The embarrassed guy was waiting for information about what test he was going to take. In turn, the woman whispered in his ear that she was sorry that he had no experience at all and was far from brave, but she also wanted to know how he was able to open the hearts of his clients to make them happy. As a stress-relieving person, the most important talent is that he must have a special charm, make women happy, and the boss didn't see this potential in Xiao Lu, so she ordered him to leave. Hearing the refusal, the hero thought that he really couldn't take advantage of even this chance. Coming out of the room, the hero heard someone shouting to Mrs. Li. Someone asked her not to do this, because Layan was not here now. The woman was outraged to the extreme because the person who was serving her was busy serving another woman. She took out the money and began to demand that the guy come to her. Throwing money, the woman shouted for Layan to come here and drink alcohol with her. One of the guards approached the boss and said that he had already called Layan, but he did not answer. Mrs. Li was from the elite group. She was a platinum customer, but if they couldn't calm her down now, it would greatly affect their reputation. That's why boss ordered to find a person who will drink with Mrs. Li, and also need to try to get through to Layan again. Meanwhile, Xiao Long sat down with the woman and wanted to sit with her to alleviate her sadness. The woman was outraged to the extreme. She shouted that no one dared to drink with her except Layan, and with all her might she wanted to hit the guy who sat next to her out of politeness. But suddenly, the woman's hand was grabbed. This was done by Xiao Lu, who did not want the woman to beat people. Those watching were dumbfounded and didn't understand why Xiao Lu still hasn't left and has been prying into other people's business. Mrs. Li is known for her cruelty, and this time the boss must deal with this matter personally. Embarrassed, the woman was amazed that she was no longer angry after the mysterious guy took her hand, but instead felt very pleased. At the same time, the heroes asked her not to be angry, because everything can be resolved peacefully, and the woman agreed with him. She was no longer angry and was not going to beat people. Seeing this, the boss was stunned. she couldn't believe that the unknown guy was able to calm down Mrs. Lee. The woman admitted her mistake that she had misjudged this man. The Mrs. asked the handsome man how long he would hold her hand, thinking that he was a new employee. She said that she had not seen him here before. The hero immediately wanted to answer that this was not so, but the boss interrupted him, and noticed that the Mrs. had really good intuition. And she also said that Xiao Lu was now their new employee, and she wanted to let him serve Madame Li. Meanwhile, the same employee was serving the client. Suddenly, he saw that his phone was ringing. After answering the call, he explained to the director that he had just served clients, and did not pay attention to the phone. It was very difficult to please Mrs. Li, because besides him, she did not let anyone else in, and he was going to come immediately. The guy was told that this was no longer necessary, because the newbie was doing just fine, and Mrs. Li was happy with him, and the guy had better explain to the boss why he wasn't answering his calls. Having turned off the call, the guy was incredibly angry, because what insignificant person dared to covet his place. He wanted to teach him a lesson. Some time later, the director noticed that Xiao Lu's performance exceeded all her expectations. Acting so brazenly in front of the client, he not only did not chicken out, but was also able to quickly calm him down. Therefore, the woman took back her words. And she congratulated the hero, because now he has officially become an employee of Pegasus. The embarrassed hero bowed to his boss and thanked her. The woman gave him the money and asked him to go and buy some nice clothes. Working in this field, the first impression plays a very important role. Without hesitation, the guy immediately took the money and told his boss that he would return the money as soon as he received his first salary. The lady just laughed and asked him not to return anything. This is the same money that he just received from Mrs. Li for the service. Today he should just go home, and tomorrow he will start work. When Xiao Lu left the room, boss thought that this boy was very interesting, because he managed to satisfy Mrs. Li. Maybe he was lucky or he just had a talent that she couldn't see. Arriving home, the hero immediately began counting the money. Because he just had a drink with a client, he was able to earn so much money, which is equivalent to the money he earned at a spa in 2 months. Hero knew that boss told him to use this money to buy clothes. He was going to use 1,000 yuan to buy a suit and save the remaining 9,000. Due to fatigue, the guy was going to go to bed early and regain his strength, because he needs to earn 1 million this month in order to save the house. Meanwhile, events continued to occur in Pegasus, the stress relief center. A cool sports car drove up to the center. From her came the same Lian, who was one of the best masters in Pegasus. The director noticed that he had finally arrived. If the same thing happened again yesterday, he didn't know how he could explain everything to the boss. But the guy did not consider this a problem, because for him it was a trifle, because in front of him every client is obedient, like a kitten, and he wanted to find out in more detail about the newcomer who would replace him yesterday, serving Mrs. Li. When Lian saw him, he didn't understand why Mrs. was so pleased with him, because he looked completely normal. Since he helped Lian and take care of Mrs. Li yesterday, he, as the eldest, should reciprocate when Miss Xiao Ying returns. He asked to recommend Xiao Lu. The director immediately realized that Lian wanted to get rid of his competitor because he asked to recommend Xiao Lu to a woman who is a rookie killer. This clearly seemed to be on the spot. Meanwhile, a girl came into the Pegasus establishment. All the guys were in suits and bowed to her, saying, "Welcome." Some of the workers were in the monument because the rookie killer had come. This girl is Xiao Ying. She likes to show off the rookies and give grades to each of them. Then she publicly announces the results. Later no one will choose the rookies who got low scores from her, so everyone calls her the rookie killer. Walking past all the workers, the girl noticed that a new guy had appeared, and she chose him. While spending time with the girl, she hinted that drinking was not at all interesting, and they should go out and play, but the guy was also against it, because the street was not at all interesting, and they should play indoors. The arrogant girl was outraged by this, because why would a newbie like him not satisfy the client's request and pretend to be kind? And yet, due to the fact that Madame Zhao wanted to play, he, of course, decided to fulfill her request. Together they came to the hotel room. The alarmed hero realized that he had come here after all, and could not believe that they would really do this right now. Suddenly, Xiao Sun appeared, who forgot to tell the blooming immortal something. Before the sunflower on his back blooms, he must preserve his virginity. And if this does not happen, it will explode. He heard a terrible hero, and he did not know what to do in this situation. Because of this, he started yelling at Xiao Sun because she didn't tell him about it earlier, but the girl had an argument that he didn't ask. At the same time, the door swung open. The client wanted to know why Xiao Lu was still wearing clothes. Thinking over the plan, the hero understood that the only way out was to escape. Even if he complained about him and was fired from his job, it was still better than dying like this. Xiao Sun turned to the master and said that he could increase her level of favor, then she would not put him in an awkward position. And this was indeed the case, because the previous girl was also unhappy with him, but after filling out the inclined level blog, she even actively wanted to get his phone number. Perhaps he could use this trick to solve the problem. All this time, the girl watched the hero and asked what he was whispering there, and why he still hadn't undressed. The friendly guy told the miss that first he would like to try his massage skills, because he was sure that she would like it. The girl was amazed that the hero could do a massage. He immediately noticed that he learned this in one spa. Among the clients who tried it, no one was dissatisfied. The girl nevertheless decided to have a massage. The hero at the same time understood that success or failure now depends on this. First, he decided to massage the girl's shoulders and used his abilities. Miss immediately felt something unusual. It's as if a dying man who lacks water in the desert suddenly takes a sip of water, experiencing an inexpressible feeling of happiness. Because the lady sat too much, her shoulders were tense, and Xiao Lu wanted to relieve the tension with his masterful movements. After his massage she became much more comfortable. The level of favorability increased with every second. The girl had the feeling that his hands had magic. No man had ever given her such a feeling. She felt more than 100 times more comfortable. And finally, the favorability level reached 100%. The blushing lady was so happy, she had the feeling that every cell was being activated, as if her life force was returning again. Due to Xiao Lu pressing on the girl's sleepy acupuncture points, she must have fallen asleep. Because he did everything he could, she should just accept her fate. Some time later, events continued to occur at Shuangde University. Some guys were talking about the fact that the opening ceremony of the new school year had finally taken place, and they wanted to try putting a bottle of water on the roof of a car to see if this trick would work. They had used it 100 times already, and this time they will definitely succeed. And it was really so. A girl came up and said that she saw the two guys put a bottle of water on the car. The guy watched the girl with loving eyes and offered to keep them company, but the girl insisted that leaving a bottle of water on the roof was bad. The guy seemed to blossom, and believed that for such a beautiful girl like her, a bottle was certainly not enough, and he asked her to supply as many bottles as she considered necessary, and he would not mind. A little embarrassed, the girl smiled sweetly and said if he thinks so, then that's good. Her words were immediately followed by a blow to the roof of the car. There were a huge number of unknown slabs on the roof, which made the car unable to move. The guys got angry and were ready to take revenge on the girl for what she did to the car. She was a difficult girl, and she thought the guys who approached her were crazy because they didn't dare contradict her. She ordered her security guard to deal with these two guys and their wrecked car, and then remove it out of sight. As long as she is the student council president, she will absolutely not allow anything to happen that will harm the university. Now she has dealt with the guys at the school gate, the campus will be next. With annoyance, she also realized that she had previously been attacked by a guy on the last day of the previous semester. Some time later, the main character came to the doors of the student council. This was truly the last place he wanted to be. Upon entering the door, the teacher announced that the school wanted to hold sports events to welcome the freshmen, and Xiao Lu should bring a list of people who are on the student council. Due to receiving a scholarship last semester, the heroes were in charge of the group sports events. And it looks like he survived this hole on his own. Peering through the door window, he hoped that God would bless him so that the same girl would not be there. Having opened the door, he still saw that there was no one there, and he was very happy. Approaching the table, he began to look for a list of students who were on the student council. Yawning, the guy also realized that he didn't sleep well last night and should take a good nap. When suddenly, someone began to open the door and said that the meeting with the president was over. A certain girl was going to return to the office to deal with the flow of meetings. Hearing this, the guy immediately realized that the same girl had returned. If he went out, he would immediately run into her. Realizing this, he also understood that he did not want to intersect with her. Looking around hurriedly, he knew that if she recognized him, she would remember what happened last time. It was obvious that he would not be able to escape. While running away, he thought that he needed to hide and go inside first. As it turned out, he entered another room of the student council. The office he saw was truly luxurious. Because of his curiosity, the hero approached the table and began to examine what was lying on it. On the table lay someone's notepad, which indicated that they needed to complete the task of welcoming the freshmen, then preparing for the sporting events for the freshmen, then recruiting new members for the student council departments, founding the student league, and organizing a party in the middle of autumn. It was that same notebook, and those tasks of the student council that must be completed in this council. If this is the case, then this room definitely belongs to that same girl. Outside the door, someone started talking about the need to notify the heads of the department that a meeting would be held soon. Meanwhile, Xiao Lu heard this and understood that he had to find a place to hide and should not allow her to discover him. Literally a moment later the door swung open and a girl entered. Entering the office, she discovered that her diary was lying on the floor. Leaning after him, she didn't quite understand how he could have ended up on the floor, and she immediately began to read the contents to make sure that nothing had been changed in her notes. Hiding, the hero waited for the girl to finish reading the book, and then left. The leisurely girl began to move towards the door. Peering through the crack of the closet, the hero thought that it seemed that she was already about to leave. As it turned out, she just locked the door. And she did this because it was too hot today. She just walked a little, but she got cold and needed to change clothes. With horror, Xiao Lu realized that it seemed like the end for him, and he could not excuse himself if she noticed him. The girl opened the closet to get clothes, and the guy was trembling and trying to hide. Slowly the girl took out her things from the closet, and soon she closed it. The hero already thought that he was lucky and was not discovered. Suddenly she said that this outfit was bought last year. It is old-fashioned and she was going to wear another one. A second later, she opened the door, behind which was the hero himself. The guy was holding a beautiful dress in his hands, and was thinking that in this way he would block the girl, and she would not do anything to him. The stunned lady watched as some guy stood in her closet and voyeurized. There was a scream, and the hero reacted in time, after which he covered the girl's mouth, saying that it was just a misunderstanding, and not at all what she was thinking. Unfortunately, the girl was unable to maintain her balance and immediately began to fall. She fell to the floor, and Xiao Lu fell after her. Outside the door the president was asked if she was okay. Due to her state of shock, the girl immediately began to push away the arrogant guy. In fear and horror, she began to scream, covering herself with her hands so that Xiao Lu could not see anything. To save herself, she began to reach for the door handle and tell the guards what happened. To prevent this from happening, the hero ran up to the girl from behind with lightning speed and covered her mouth with his hand. He wanted to tell her that he was not a thief or a pervert, it was just a misunderstanding, and he wanted to explain everything that happened. Touching the girl's stomach, he used his magical abilities. The confused girl felt this, and her abilities began to operate. He fell to his knees. The girl did not understand why. The place where he pressed causes a feeling of numbness and softness. It was incredibly pleasant. Xiao Lu, not understanding what was happening, wanted to find out what happened to the girl. It was noticeable that the lady's mind was clouded, and she wanted to understand what he had done to her. A moment later, Xiao Sun appeared and told the gentleman that he should not let the girl go, because if she screamed, he would be a criminal. Someone immediately started knocking on the door, asking about what happened to the president and what was happening inside the room. The hero wanted to know what was needed to solve the problem, and Xiao Sun advised increasing the girl's favor to 100%. Covering the girl's mouth, Xiao Lu said that he was very sorry because this happened. With an increased pace, he began to increase favor using his magical abilities. The hero's hands evoked a feeling of warmth in the girl. She experienced an incredible sensation from his hands. When suddenly the president fell to the floor, the hero realized that the favor had indeed been increased to 100%. They kept knocking on the door without stopping, and the guy knew that if they saw him, he would be branded a pervert for the rest of his life. Unexpectedly, the girl answered the man behind the door that he should not worry about what happened, because she saw the mouse, and now it has run away, and the guards need to continue their work. The stunned guy did not understand why the president was helping him, but as it turned out, the point was not that she was helping him, but that she could not allow others to see her in such an outfit. The president began to get dressed. The hero wanted to explain to her, He came here because he wanted to convey a list of people taking part in sporting events, not that he wanted to peep while she was changing clothes. It was all just a misunderstanding. The embarrassed girl asked him not to tell anyone about this, because what happened today should remain a secret. Sighing with relief, the hero began to convince the girl not to worry, and he would not tell anyone anything. At the same time, the president was not so simple. Her mother told her that she should not trust men, so she wanted to do something unusual. After 5 minutes, she began to introduce Xiao Lu to the students. He will now be a member of the student council, and will temporarily take the position of her assistant. All colleagues began to clap joyfully, because they were pleased that there was a new addition to their ranks. The hero understood that now he would have no freedom at night, and, moreover, no freedom even during the day. Some time later, events continued to occur in the center of Pegasus. One of the workers wanted to ask the guy how yesterday went with the killer of newcomers, whether she was happy. The modest hero replied that perhaps this really was so. The colleague was happy for him, because if she is not satisfied with his service, she will come back to complain and give low scores. Once someone received a rating of 30 points from her, later that person did not appear in this industry again. With apprehension, the hero realized that last night he took advantage of the fact that she was sleeping to leave her house, and did not understand whether she would come to complain about him. Suddenly, the same lady came who was immediately asked if she was happy with the newcomer. The arrogant Lion watched everything that was happening and thought that he dared to take away his client, and today he will force him to leave this industry. The managers wanted Xiao Lu to apologize to the girl in advance for the incorrect service. But as it turned out, the girl actually wanted to rate Xiao Lu's service 100 points, because it was very good. Everyone who heard this did not understand how this was possible, because even Lion, as soon as he came here, received only 95 points. This newcomer truly surpassed Lion. From now on, the girl only wanted to choose Xiao Lu when she came here. Lion continued to watch everything that was happening. He was overcome with anger. He could not tolerate this. He crushed the glass with his own hand, and the girl noticed this and wanted to help him, because his hand was hurt. Smiling, the angry guy told the girl that everything was fine and she shouldn't worry about him. At the same time, he realized that only he, Lion, could be Pegasus's trump card, and no one should take this position away from him. Some time later, events continued to occur in the city at night. The girls who came to Pegasus were discussing the newcomer, who serves even better than Lion, and did not think about how he looks, and wanted to quickly evaluate his service. Just a few minutes later, Xiao Lu was already serving one of the clients. The girl was lying on the bed, waiting for the moment when a handsome guy would start servicing her. With his hands, he began to reach towards her back in order to use his magical abilities. As soon as the guy touched the girl's shoulders, she experienced incredibly pleasant feelings, which were talked about in rumors. The guy didn't know how Zhao Ying spread these rumors among people, but after that day there was no end to customers. After a magical massage from Xiao Lu, the girls almost fought to attend the magical session. At the same time, other workers were indignant that this is not a massage parlor. He serves clients alone, but the bosses turn a blind eye to this. He knows how to make money, and one of the guys heard that his profits exceeded those of Lion. Suddenly, it turned out that Lion was passing right next to the gossipers. When the guys saw him, they immediately began to bow, because they deeply respected the skilled worker. The girl who was next to the indignant guy asked him not to be angry. Today she will try to do everything possible to help him and not let others get around him. He looked the girl straight in the eyes. The guy said that she didn't need to do this, but she could do one favor. The embarrassed girl was ready to do anything to please Lion. Events continued to happen the next evening. Lion turned to Xiao Lu, and said that today he would serve Miss Mary. What they heard again shocked the workers, because Mary had never chosen anyone other than Lion, and they believed that this fight had already ended, and Lion had lost his first place. The distant girl watched the hero, and she only had 20% favor towards him. The benevolent heroes asked Miss if she would allow him to pour some wine. The girl said that she really didn't understand why some women chose a simpleton like him. It was obvious to her that Lion was 100 times better than Xiao Lu, and the hero asked if he doesn't suit her, then why not change with Lion? Embarrassed, the girl said that she didn't want to change, and only wanted to say a few words, but he seemed to be completely unbearable, as if he had no professional spirit. This time, she chose him because she wanted to see how brilliant his professional massage techniques were, and why others abandoned Lion to choose him. In anticipation, the woman also knew that before that they had to find a suitable place. The good-natured guy replied that he was very sorry, but now he does not work outside the center, because it is really too dangerous to go out. Fortunately, his profits have been quite good recently, and now he can refuse to work outside. Sighing heavily, the girl forgot that he is now a celebrity of this center, and he has the right to be arrogant, but what a pity, because she thought that if his massage satisfied her today, she would give him a fee of 100,000 yuan. Because of the amount they heard, some time later, the couple was already at the entrance to the Lan Tian Hotel. Meanwhile, they were closely watched by Lian, who was watching and calling someone. At the same time, events took place in a dark alley. A man with a scar beat another man and said that if he didn't give him the remaining money tomorrow, he would tear off his hands and feed them to the dogs. Suddenly, the frightening man's phone rang. Suspecting nothing, he answered the call and asked who was calling him. The man who called shouted that he was warning that now Mary is his woman. If he bothers her again, then he is making a man so that his mother will not even recognize him anymore. The angry man began shouting who was calling him, and if he found him, he would beat him, after which he ordered him to give the address. It turned out that it was Lian who called, who said that he was now in the Lang Tian Hotel with Mary, and if the man dared, then let him come. This made the treacherous guy laugh, and now Xiao Lu will slowly enjoy what Lian had carefully prepared for him. Meanwhile, the couple had already entered the hotel room, and the hero wanted to know if the girl wanted a massage right now. The girl asked him not to rush, and first wanted to drink a glass of wine with him. At the same time, she remembered that Lian told her that when the hero fell asleep, she should take off his clothes and then throw him out into the street so that he would disgrace himself in front of everyone, and he also gave the girl an antidote: if she drank a glass of wine, then nothing will happen. Together they began to drink wine, and the girl thought that since he had offended her lover, she would take revenge on him for this. Some time later, the girl found herself on the bed and asked the hero to go to her. If he satisfied her, then the money would be his. Xiao Lu understood that the girl would definitely be satisfied if he used his powers. After literally one touch, the girl began to make unusual sounds. Her body began to tremble, and she felt very strange. As it turned out, the hero didn't even touch her, and didn't quite understand what happened. Xiao Sun explained that someone had poisoned the wine they had just drunk. After which, Xiao Sun laughed, because such wine cannot poison a hero, because he cultivates the charming scripture of fortune. As long as the poison has not dissolved in the body, it will not affect Xiao Lu. The energy he takes from the charming scripture of fortune is a kind of vital energy, and the source of life is water. In other words, his energy attribute is water. And his massage is so enjoyable because his power allows him to interact with the blood in people's bodies, which helps make them satisfied, and also means that his body uses vital energy to neutralize the poison he drinks. Surprisingly, Xiao Lu had previously believed that the charming writing of fortune was an unrighteous cultivation method, and did not expect that it was so surprising. Xiao Sun was immediately indignant, because she did not understand how the charming writing of fortune could become an unrighteous method. The hero immediately realized that now was not the time to argue, and he needed to help the miss as soon as possible. First of all, he needed to help her get rid of the poison in her body, but he also did not understand who poisoned her. There was a strong knock. Someone knocked on the door and shouted for Mary to open the door, because he wanted to know how she dared to cheat behind his back. The man threatened to cut the guy with whom she cheated into pieces. Looking through the door peephole, the heroes saw that bandits had visited him, and he immediately realized that someone wanted to set him up. One of the bandits was Zhang Hui. As it turns out, Mary is Zhang Hui's woman, and he still owes him money. If he sees this, the guy doesn't know what his fate will be, and the bandits can also knock down the door. It is unsafe to remain in the room, and the hero has no choice but to climb out through the balcony. Xiao Sun immediately told the hero not to dare to jump, because it was too dangerous. Due to the fact that the heroes have the power of water, he should try his skills. The mysterious girl told him that he would not be able to go down even if he used water. And then the guy realized that maybe ice would help him. Using his abilities, he created a block of ice, and was easily able to climb down it from the balcony. Suddenly, he found Lei En's car below, and immediately realized that he had organized all this. Xiao Lu was going to definitely return the favor. Ice partially covered Lei En's car, and he didn't quite understand what was happening. Turning his gaze to the other side, he was stunned when he saw Xiao Lu walking down the ice. In order to take revenge, the hero kicked the villain straight in the face with all his might. The bandits from the balcony noticed the hero as he ran away, but he was not going to wait for them, because he was not a fool. The bandits discovered Lian, and the head bandit immediately realized that this brat had recently called him. The worried guy began to worry and said that it was not him, and he was misunderstood, but the bandit knew that it was Lian who played such a joke on him. It was because of this that the bandit was going to deprive Lian of his handsome face so that he could no longer flirt with girls. Meanwhile, events took place in the student council. All the participants worked hard, and for today the preparations were completed. The president invited everyone to karaoke. Confused, the girl approached one of the guys to find out where Xiao Lu was. The guy told her that he was busy this evening and asked to go home. If so, then the girls said that they should ignore him, and they themselves could have fun together, and at the same time, the girl was thinking that Xiao Lu even asked another person to help him say that he was leaving, and she began to think that is so scary. She recalled that the hero was very daring that time, but for some reason he still kept his distance from her. She obviously gave him many chances. It is possible that he has a girlfriend. He is busy going on a date with her tonight. Thinking about this, she thought that Xiao Lu had done a good job, and even dared to be insolent to her, and then the girl decided to take revenge on him. Meanwhile, events continued to occur in Pegasus. The hero brought a certain document for the boss. The woman didn't understand why he wanted to quit, as if they weren't paying him enough. It was all because he came here to earn money and repay his debt, and now his debt has already been repaid. The boss saw the report. He earned more than $1 million in a month. Frankly speaking, the woman has never seen an employee capable of earning money the way he does. The guy has far surpassed Lian in earnings. After tearing up her resignation letter, the girl said that Xiao Lu was a great employee and she couldn't let him leave. Without hesitation, the hero told the lady that even if she tore up his letter of resignation, she still could not change his intentions. Immediately after this, she handed over the contract that he signed when he got a job here. It clearly stated that he would work here for a year. Upon termination of the contract he would be required to compensate for 3 months of income. Therefore, if he pays the boss 3 million, then she will allow him to leave. After that, she asked what he chooses, to stay here and work quietly, or to pay 3 million for his freedom. The woman wanted the hero to be submissive and become her money tree for a whole year, because she was not going to let him go. Then the hero said that he would stay here for a little while longer and leave when he earned enough money to compensate. Leaving the office, the woman asked him to wait. After all, because of him, she didn't feel well, and asked for a massage. Then the hero asked to give him the opportunity to go get a bottle of wine, but there was no need for this. The woman heard that his skills were incredible, so she was very curious if this was true. At that moment, the hero realized that this was a great opportunity. He did not expect that the woman would give him such an opportunity, and perhaps if he increased the level of her favor, she would not demand compensation from him. Touching the boss's back, he immediately began using his magical abilities. Unfortunately, the level of favor did not increase. The woman did not react in any way. Moreover, her level of favor remains 50% and nothing happens. Having closed her eyes, the boss did not make any sounds, as if she had fallen asleep. Since the woman had fallen asleep, the hero put his jacket on her because he was afraid that she would freeze. And then the woman invited him to go outside for a while. Meanwhile, the student council president was saying goodbye to her subordinates. After which she asked the butler if the students had parties at the Pegasus Club, because it looked unusual. It was then that the butler told her everything. With horror, the girl realized that this place turned out to be different from the place that she had imagined. Everyone got into the car. The girl asked her uncle to hurry up to get as far away from this place as possible. Meanwhile, the hero and his boss were leaving the club. The girl was stunned by what she saw, and did not understand why he was leaving such a place, and who was next to him. Could it be his girlfriend? But at the same time she was too old. A moment later, she ordered the butler to stop and began to get out of the car. The car, along with the boss and Xiao Lu, had already left the scene. The butler wanted to know what happened to the young lady, and she ordered the man to immediately find out about the girl next to Xiao Lu, as much as possible, because she would not allow him to ruin the reputation of the university. At the same time, the hero wanted to understand where they were going, and the boss asked if he wanted to earn money to pay off the fine for breaking the contract. that is why she wanted to introduce him to the client, and then the guy wanted to find out why the client did not come himself to the club and they have to pick him up. Moving quickly around the city, the boss said that he would find out everything when they arrived. Meanwhile, they arrived at Qingshan Mental Hospital. As it turns out, the client is not a doctor or a nurse, she is a patient. The hero immediately hinted to the lady that this was not good, they could not work here without the permission of the guardian. This patient is the boss's younger sister, and she is her guardian. Upon entering the mental hospital, a nurse immediately greeted them and asked Miss if she had come to see her sister. As before, the woman did not communicate with anyone and is aggressive towards men. As long as she didn't see the men, she was quiet, and Miss asked the nurse to continue working, and they were going to stay here for a while and leave. Xiao Lu looked at boss and said that he was not a doctor, and doctors should be the ones to take on her sister's treatment. Unfortunately, her sister spent 5 years in this place, but her current condition did not improve at all. Xiao Lu understood this, and believed that even if the doctors could not cure it, then the girl brought him here in vain. Since her sister became like this, the girl has not slept well, but once Xiao Lu massaged her, she immediately felt comfortable and fell asleep, so she hopes that he can help her sister sleep well, that will be enough. The hero decided that he would try his best, but the nurse said that the girl becomes crazy when they see men, and then the lady said that she would stand in front of him and distract her attention, and the guy should just do his job. Miss entered the room and said about her sister named Tintin that she had come to visit her. Approaching the girl, she said that she should not worry, because she was not going to offend her, and the doctors would definitely cure her, she just needed to be strong and not give up. The caring sister knelt in front of Ting Ting, and meanwhile Xiao Lu was getting closer. Suddenly, the girl seemed to discover something, and there was a blur in her eyes. The boss immediately hugged her and told her not to be afraid because she was here and would protect her. The sister, in turn, without thinking twice, began to bite to protect herself. Meanwhile, the heroes approached and began to use their magical abilities on the crazy girl. After using her abilities, the lady began to scream furiously and was consumed by dark energy. Xiao Sun explained that this is the dark energy of the succubi. Succubi are demonic creatures that feed on the life force of people, and they are also the sworn enemies of the immortal flower family. Meanwhile, events continued to occur in the nightclub. Layan came to an unknown girl, and she asked him that her colleague was not only robbing his client, but also made him like this. The embittered guy wanted the mistress to heal his face, because he simply had to take revenge. At that very moment she came to him to heal his wound, and immediately after that, they were entwined in a tender kiss. After that same ill-fated kiss, Layan fell to the floor unconscious. Walking onto the path of the nightclub, the girl thought that the losers who come to her will meet the same end, but at least she healed Layan's wound. It seems that for him this revenge will be his life's work. At the same time, the girl didn't understand, if there was a person more popular than Layan, she couldn't just let such an excellent dish go. Meanwhile, Xiao Sun asked the master to hurry up, because if the power of the succubi affects him for a long time, in the end it will take over him, just like this girl. But the dark energy was too strong, she knows that she will not take over Xiao Lu, so she returned to this girl's body. The worried sister wanted to find out from Xiao Lu what happened to her sister, but as it turned out, she just fell asleep. The shoulder injury was incomparable to what Tintin had to endure. In this case, Xiao Sun asked the girl to find out what happened to her sister. All this happened earlier because of one man. 5 years ago, when Tintin went to university, she said that she liked someone, then the girl was very happy for her. But, after some time, she disappeared. The girl called the police and asked all her friends, but no one knew where she was. 6 months later, police found more than 10 unconscious girls in an abandoned house, including her younger sister Tintin. Xiao Lu immediately wanted to know who this man was, but the woman replied that she had never even seen his photo, but before Ting Ting disappeared, she updated the status. The status indicated that she was very happy to be with her boyfriend. This story was strange, because the girl was alone in the photo, and Miss tried all these years to find out at least something about the man, but everything was in vain. Even the thought that this scoundrel had harmed her sister made her want to destroy him. A few tens of minutes later, they almost reached Xiao Lu's house together. The guy immediately told the lady that his home was located here, and then the girl asked him to wait. Unexpectedly, she kissed him, because the guy had done a good job, and Tintin would be able to rest properly today, and this was his reward. It turned out that Sister Xiao Lu was watching what was happening, and she dropped her books in fright. Getting out of the car, the hero thought about whether the boss's sister could cope with what happened to her. Xiao Sun said that there is an incredible amount of dark energy and it will be very difficult to do anything with his powers, so the guy should improve his cultivation. If so, then shouldn't he take an example from Xiao Bao? Meanwhile, the girl watched everything that was happening, and did not understand what it meant to follow the example of Xiao Bao, and what even happened. Together with her sister, they sat down to eat, and she wanted to know why her brother came so late, as if he was walking with his girlfriend, but Xiao Lu replied that he did not have time to communicate with girls, let alone date anyone, that. Confused, the sister wanted to know if he had worked last night, and it was true that if he didn't work, he wouldn't be able to support his family. With a shudder, the girl realized that he was working with other girls, or perhaps making money in other ways. Angry, the younger sister slammed her hand on the table. At the same time, Gurov did not quite understand why his sister was so suddenly angry. Sitting on her bed, she thought that this shouldn't be the case, she couldn't let her older brother work in this industry, and she had to stop him. To unwind a little, Xiao Lu decided to go outside and walk, when suddenly a car drove up to him. It was the same girl who got out of the car and asked where he was going and whether he needed a ride. A little confused, the guy replied that there was no need to do this, he could get to work by bus. At that moment, the girl said that he was obviously the trump card of the club, and for some reason they get to work by bus. If the clients recognize him, they will stop appreciating him. And the rules of the university prohibit working part-time in bars and clubs. With his actions, he spoils the image of the university. If the hero does not have a compelling reason to work there, then the girl was going to report him. Suddenly, the younger sister ran up and told the girl not to hurt her little brother, and let her say something. Money can't buy love, and her brother doesn't like her, and she told her brother that even if their family is poor, then she doesn't want to make him unhappy for the sake of money. Even more confused, Xiao Lu didn't understand what happened to Ling Ling. The hero began to explain the whole situation to the head, and said that his sister was still too young and foolish, she should not be paid attention to. Turning to his younger sister, he wanted to understand what she was talking about, because she should go home after school and do her homework. Ling Ling was outraged to the extreme, because she didn't want her brother to consider her a child. She saw what he did with that girl last night. Xiao Lu immediately began to make excuses, and said that her sister misunderstood everything, and this is not what she imagined. She also knew that her brother was working hard to support their family, but last night he was servicing that girl, and today they are servicing another girl, which according to her sister is an unworthy activity. Meanwhile, that same girl wanted to understand what it means to serve another girl. A crowd of people gathered around Xiao Lu and his companions, and everyone was talking about how being a jigol at such a young age is very low, and modern youth are very promiscuous. The butlers at the same time said that there are too many people here. If they misunderstood each other, then perhaps it is worth solving this problem in the car, and the girl agreed. They began to rush somewhere at high speed. The following events took place at the Pegasus Club. The same girl who healed Layan came there and got rid of the scar. It was the famous supermodel Gone Wei Wei. No one could believe that she came to relax in their club. Everyone was incredibly happy, and hoped that she would choose one of them. The manager immediately turned to the girl to ask if she knew who to contact. At the same time Gone Wei Wei said that she had heard about a master named Xiao Lu, who is the best in his business. Unfortunately, Xiao Lu was late. If the girl didn't mind, then the manager was ready to find a replacement for him. It was then that she ordered all the people to come here, because she was going to evaluate all the services of this place. And she was ready to pay for absolutely all services, but the manager told her that, unfortunately, they could not fulfill her request, because there were other visitors in the building. The girls watched her in surprise and were amazed that the supermodel wanted to pay for everything in this club, as if she thought she had enough money for it. In this case, Gone Wei Wei decided to use her secret insect puppet, which was created by dark energy and can control the minds of others. Completely unnoticed, the insect bit one of the girls who was sitting in the establishment. Horrified, the girls did not understand why their mouth was dirty, and they had to shut up, after which they began to hit their cheeks with their own hands. The manager approached the girls to ask what happened to them. Suddenly, he was also bitten from behind by the same insect, and he told Gone Wei Wei that he could arrange an all-inclusive service for her. She should have tried a couple of appetizers before eating the main course. Meanwhile, Ling Ling was saying that she was very sorry, and she didn't know that this girl was the student council president, and thought that she wanted her brother to serve. But everything was in order, and the girl did not blame her, because they should blame her older brother. A student takes such a job, and it is truly an undignified job. Out of dissatisfaction, the president of the student club even stepped on the hero's foot. A little worried, he continued to sit between the two girls and listen to what they were talking about. The younger sister admitted that in fact, her brother was doing this to pay off their parents' debt. The man said that if they did not give him the money, he would take their house. Xiao Lu asked his sister not to worry because he had already given parents duty. This place will now always be their home. This news made Ling Ling very happy, and she thought that now brother would no longer go to this job, and should quit as quickly as possible. But Xiao Lu admitted that he told his boss last night that he wanted to quit, but signed a 1-year contract before that, so if he quits, he will also have to pay damages under the contract. It was then that the sister asked how large the compensation would be. Rubbing the back of his head, the hero admitted that it was only 3 million yuan. The sister was stunned by what she heard. She could not believe that the hero needed to pay such a large amount, but the president of the student club said that she received approximately the same amount for all her pocket expenses per month, and therefore asked them not to worry, because she was ready to pay for Xiao Lu. The guy felt awkward and said that he couldn't accept her money, but the girl didn't say that she would just give him the money. It was just a contribution to the future, because he would continue to work for her. The younger sister also thought that working for Sister Xia was much better than leaving everything as it was, and he should agree. Then Xiao Lu wanted to know what he would do because he did not want to take risks and act blindly. And then the girl told him not to worry, because she wouldn't have him climb a mountain or dive into the ocean. He would just make tea, bring water, and the girl also thought that he could give her a massage. But he didn't say that. She cleared her throat and asked whether he would accept her money or not, because she thought that maybe he didn't want to quit. The guy was inspired and ready to work hard to repay the girl. A little embarrassed, the lady was very glad that the guy she liked agreed. Immediately after this, the rich lady asked her uncle to go towards Pegasus. With lightning speed they immediately went there. A few minutes later, events continued to occur near the Pegasus Club. Looking at this place, the younger sister could not believe that this was the place where the hero worked. She wanted to go inside and look around. Smiling, the guy said that there was nothing to see here. Now he needed to talk to the boss, and he would return as soon as he finished. The girls decided to stay together on the street while he resolved the issue with his boss. Entering the club, Xiao Lu did not understand why it was very empty, and no one greeted him. Due to the emptiness in the club, the guy thought that everyone was given leave on the same day, after which he met the director. Looking into the director's eyes, the hero asked where the rest of the workers were. With a blank look, the director replied that all the employees were working in the all-inclusive room, and he should also hurry there because the client was waiting. The hero was against this because he would not be able to serve customers and came to talk to the boss. Without any emotion, the director again repeated that the client was still waiting for him. He should hurry up and serve her. Suddenly, Xiao Sun appeared and said that something was wrong here. This man was under the influence of a succubus insect puppet. His consciousness was under someone's control. Hearing this, the guy couldn't believe it, because the boss's sister also suffered from a succubus. Xiao Sun also didn't quite understand what was wrong. There were many succubi in the world and they all have different abilities. For example, this succubus uses an insect, which means that this is definitely a control class soup. The maximum distance of the insect from the owner is 50 m, therefore, the succubus is somewhere nearby. Xiao Lu suggested that most likely he is now in the all-inclusive room, and wanted to know what to do in such a situation. Xiao Sun suggested that the succubus does not yet know who he is, and if this is the case, she will not use the puppet before his eyes. Perhaps this is their chance to make their first move. Full of determination, the hero heard Xiao Sun's words and immediately realized that he had to fight the succubus, although he had never studied martial arts. Smiling, Xiao Sun said that he underestimates himself. During cultivation, his strength, reaction and agility become better and better, exceeding the ability of an ordinary person. Moreover, the charming scripture of fortune is the thunderstorm of all succubi, no matter by chance or not, but they will definitely win. A moment later, the guards had already surrounded the hero and wanted to take him to the all-inclusive room. Sighing heavily, the hero did not lose hope, because he had no other way, and he hoped that Xiao Sun told him the truth. The guards brought Xiao Lu and reported that the master had arrived. At the same time, many workers sat over Gan Wei Wei and gave her many different treatments, such as massaging her legs, back, and arms. Seeing the chief master, the girl ordered all the workers to leave them alone. The obedient workers bowed to the girl and immediately began to leave. The hero did not know at all how to react to this, and watched with surprise what was happening. The girl asked the guy why he stood there rooted to the spot. He should come over because she tried everything this place has to offer just because of him. Confused, the guy did not understand what to do, but Xiao Sun gave a hint and said to do everything as always. As soon as the succubus was distracted, they would immediately take the chance and attack. Sitting down next to the girl, Xiao Lu began to ask if she was some kind of famous model, because she looked simply incredible, and he hoped that she would forgive him for saying such words, because no other description came to his mind. Gan Wei Wei was not surprised that he was able to impress Lian and become the trump card of this establishment, because he has such a sweet tongue that no girl can resist. For starters, she was going to drink some wine. This glass contained a black bloodworm. It is capable of saturating human blood with dark energy, which succubi love very much. Apparently, the succubus wants to turn the hero into the main dish. In surprise, the girl asked why the guy didn't drink wine, as if he was afraid that something had been mixed into it. Xiao Sun at the same time told the hero that ordinary people cannot see such things. If he does not drink wine now, Gan Wei Wei will begin to suspect him. Meanwhile, two girls were waiting for him on the street, and they didn't quite understand why he had been gone for so long, as if he was busy with something. Ling Ling immediately suggested that perhaps he was not allowed to resign and was now being kept inside. The chairman asked her little sister to wait here because she wanted to know what this place was, the Pegasus Club, which you can enter but cannot leave. At that same second, the heroes began to drink the wine that Gan Wei Wei gave him. Not deciding to take a sip, he said he couldn't drink it and apologized. The girl was not satisfied with this answer, and she wanted to know why. Xiao Lu decided to argue that his main task is to give the girl a massage. Alcohol can have a bad effect on the quality of his work. He is not ideal in this matter, so massage first, and then drink. He was not entirely sure that such a lie would convince her, and in the worst case, all that remained was to disobey. The enthusiastic girl was confused, but asked then, as soon as he finished with the massage, not to forget to drink with her. She also asked him, while he was working, not to forget to apply force, and not to be afraid of causing pain, because she loved strong men. The mysterious girl knew that this was the master's chance. It was necessary to take advantage of the carelessness of this succubus to use his powers and kill her. The trusting succubus lay down on the bed and waited for the hero to start giving her a massage. Suddenly, in the reflection of the glass, she saw that the hero was using his magical abilities and approaching her from behind. Immediately after this, she began to turn around to prevent Xiao Lu from getting even closer to her. "Get on your feet," the girl wanted to understand who this guy really is. Suddenly, Xiao Sun appeared and shouted for the succubus to open his eyes wider and see that this gentleman is an honorable immortal, blooming, wise, kind and gallant. The Blossom Immortal family are the succubi's worst enemies, and Gan Wei Wei admitted that she was too careless. In order to protect herself, the girl abruptly turned the table over and began to hide behind it. After that, she began to run away abruptly. Succubi specializing in control are very bad in close combat, and you shouldn't give her the opportunity to escape. As she approached the door, the girl turned around to see if the guy was running after her. At that very second, the hero manages to touch the impudent succubus and use his magical powers. From literally one touch, the succubus fell to the ground and was literally helpless. Because of this attack, Gan Wei Wei was seriously injured. One more blow and she would definitely die. The main character was preparing to strike the next crushing blow to destroy the arrogant succubus, and was gradually approaching. Suddenly, the head of the student council arose, who wanted to find out what the guy was doing, and how he could beat a girl, whether he was really still a man. The confused guy wanted to know why the president came here. At the same time, a caring girl tried to help the wounded lady and wanted to call an ambulance in order to save her. Xiao Lu did not expect this, and immediately exclaimed that she should not come near her, because the succubus was dangerous. The insidious succubus took the president of the student club by the neck and lifted him above the ground. Looking straight into the demon's eyes, the hero asked not to drag uninvolved people into this. If she lets her go, then so be it, he will let the succubus go. What she heard made Gan Wei Wei happy, and she began to act. Using her strength, she threw the helpless girl directly into Xiao Lu's arms. Suddenly, the president of the student club had a knife in his hands. Fortunately, Xiao Lu noticed this and stopped the lady in time. With all his strength, he threw the knife in the other direction, having previously taken it from the girl. With a crash, the knife pierced the wall, although it could have pierced the main character himself. The angry guy wanted to know what was going on here. The president of the student club also had red eyes and a completely blank look. Unfortunately, the girl was also bitten by a puppet tick and is now under the control of a succubus. Thus, the hero realized that if Gan Wei Wei did not keep her word, then she should not even hope to get out of here alive. Laughing, the succubus angrily asked her not to rush, and not to forget about her friend. After all, she would now advise you to control yourself, otherwise, she was not sure that this girl would not harm herself. With horror, the hero began to think through the next plan of action. Soon, the president of the student club began to take Gan Wei Wei away, saying that they needed to get out of here. Coming out of the club, the hero was met by his younger sister. The puzzled guy immediately asked his sister where Xia Ku'er was. Confused, the sister said that she had just brought out some beauty, after which they got into the car and drove away. The expression on the little sister's face was so strange. Lin Lin tried to call her, but she did not react at all, as if they had a fight when they were inside. Sighing heavily, the guy sadly admitted that there was nothing like that in the club. A moment later, a new message arrived on the hero's mobile phone. It stated that if he wanted to save Xia Ku'er, he needed to come to the Kai Huan Hotel, room 21. Hurrying away, Xiao Lu shouted to his sister to run home, but he had something to deal with. Ling Ling immediately realized that her elder brother was hiding something from her, and she was incredibly angry with him. Some time later, events continued to occur at the Kai Huan Hotel. The hero got into the elevator and pressed number 21 to save Xia Ku'er. Xiao Sun warned Xiao Lu that this was definitely a trap, and now he was walking straight into an open mousetrap. Feeling guilty, the hero understood that it was because of him that Xia Ku'er was caught. Despite the fact that it was an obvious trap, he had to go there. He also prepared a secret weapon, and asked Xiao Sun not to worry, because they would definitely save her. Worried, Xiao Sun was worried, because they did not know whether this weapon would be useful at the moment. If suddenly it turned out to be ineffective, then no one would know what to do. Xiao Lu at the same time understood that if this happened, they would need to come up with another plan. Every problem has several solutions. The elevator doors opened, and an unknown guy was waiting for the hero on the floor. Not understanding what was happening, the hero immediately asked the mysterious guy who he was. But then he just bowed and said that Gan Wei Wei was waiting for him in the room, and he needed to follow him. The mysterious guy began to open the door to the room. As soon as they entered the room, initially no one was visible. Suddenly, another door opened in front of them. Behind the door was Gan Wei Wei, sitting on a chair, and Xia Ku'er tied to a pipe. The succubus had a whip in her hands, which she began to wave. Feeling anxious, the main character asked the girl to say what she wanted in exchange for Xia Ku'er's freedom. It was then that Gan Wei Wei said that if Xiao Lu jumped from here, then in that case she would let the innocent lady go. In fact, she was just joking because she would never ask for such a thing, and said that if he could beat Kai Chi, then she would let his girlfriend go. Xiao Lu was afraid that this was another trap, but Xiao Sun convinced him that given the current level of cultivation, the hero would be able to beat this man with one left hand. Fearing deception, he wanted to understand why I should trust him that she would keep her word, because at any moment she could give her a command and leave with her, and he could not do anything about it. Gan Wei Wei began to convince the hero that she had removed the puppet effect from Xia Ku'er, because otherwise, it wouldn't be so much fun for the impudent one. As soon as Gan Wei Wei took the gag out of Xia Ku'er's mouth, she immediately shouted for Xiao Lu to call the police. The succubus girl immediately turned to Xia Ku'er and said that the police clearly would not help here. Meanwhile, a servant named Kai Chi was ready for a fight. Xiao Sun was surprised that the succubus dared to look down on the young master. A couple of blows would definitely be enough for the master to win. And then the girl warned that Kai Chi had previously been a professional boxer. He moved with incredible speed, and at first glance, he fought much better than Xiao Lu. Fortunately, The hero managed to deflect the insolent blow, but he felt the force that was put into the blow with his fist. Such a blow would clearly break an ordinary person's arm. Xiao Lu from now on wanted to let Kai Chi feel the power of his blow, and thought that he would not be able to dodge while standing so close. The former professional boxer was easily able to dodge the crushing blow of the protagonist. What he saw amazed the guy. He did not at all expect that this was even possible. After this, a series of blows immediately followed, and he did not understand how Kai Chi was able to dodge so well. It turned out that this was completely useless, because the master endowed him with strength, and the hero's fist would never reach him. Seeing what was happening, Xia Kuer and Xiao Lu were stunned. They had no idea what to do next. Parasitic cockroaches are capable of giving the host a reaction and a cockroach that a person cannot surpass. The arrogant heroes began to approach the boxer, asking him if he still served the succubus faithfully after what she did to him. Unable to tolerate such words, the insolent man began to attack Xiao Lu, delivering many blows to the body. At the same time the boxer understood, no matter whether it was a demon or a god, as long as they made him stronger, he would obey their orders. One of the blows still managed to hit the hero. This very blow was able to knock the main character off his feet and slam him straight into the wall, which began to crack from the force of the blow. Watching the fight, the girls began to frantically worry, because they doubted that Xiao Lu could win. Moving away after the blow, the hero told the boxer that since he was so fanatical, he shouldn't cry later, since he forced him to use a special skill. Gan Wei Wei immediately asked her servant to be careful, because the guy probably still had an ace up his sleeve, but the boxer asked the master not to worry, because he is always serious, no matter what opponent he fights against. That secret weapon was the lighter. The hero began to set fire to absolutely everything that was in his path and had the opportunity to burn. The boxer was amazed that arson was his trump card, but everything was not so simple. Upscale rooms are always equipped with a fire alarm, and trying to start a fire in a hotel is very stupid. In fact, arson was not his true goal, because he is just an ordinary student who has never done anything illegal. Looking the guy straight in the eyes, the boxer wanted to know what he wanted to start, if not a fire. The idea was not to commit arson. The point is to collect as much water as possible throughout the room. Using his magical abilities, the guy began to freeze the water that was under his feet. Without waiting for a response, the boxer began to attack and shouted that this was a cheap trick. He couldn't scare anyone here. Smiling, the hero thought that the boxer really hadn't learned anything at all in his life. Did he really not know that under the influence of cold, cockroaches slowly lose all their strength? All his movements become more constrained and slower. The unsuspecting boxer did not expect Xiao Lu to do such a mean thing and attacked in such a manner. An attack of this kind worked successfully, and the hero struck back with all his might at the impudent guy, and thereby destroyed him literally with one blow. Having fallen to the ground, the fighter could no longer fight. In fact, it was not a trick, the hero preferred to call it simple knowledge. Later, in his spare time, he advised the boxer to read a few books. Pointing his finger at Gan Wei Wei, he asked why she did not let Xia Kuer go, since Xiao Lu had won the battle. A moment later, the rope on the girl's hands began to unravel. From that moment on, it seemed to them that, fortunately, everything was over. Suddenly, they discovered a silhouette approaching them in front of them. It was Gan Wei Wei. Part of her body turned into a giant spider, and she didn't think it was over. The indignant hero did not understand why she did not keep her promise, because she promised that she would let her go, and now she is doing dishonorable things. Laughing, the succubus didn't understand what was going on. She had let the hero's girlfriend go, but she certainly didn't promise that she would stop hunting them. If it weren't for this useless piece of trash, the girls certainly wouldn't have shown her ghostly devil spider form. They are the only people who have seen this form. And everyone who saw this form of the ghostly devil spider before died, the hero suggested. This was indeed the case, and Gan Wei Wei praised him for quickly grasping all the information. A large amount of cobwebs began to entwine Xiao Lu's arms and legs, making him unable to move. Meanwhile, Xia Kuer was trying to get out and pushed the door to go into the corridor. Unfortunately, the girl suffered the same fate, and her entire body was wrapped in cobwebs. The embittered spider approached the hero and wanted to do something terrible to him. Something outraged her. She didn't understand why he kept such an expression on his face, as if nothing was happening, because now, according to her idea, he should beg her for mercy. With incredible calm, the hero explained that even if he starts begging, will she spare him? He thinks that she won't, so perhaps he decided to save his strength. Gan Wei Wei continued her attack, and wanted to see if he could remain as calm as she made her attack and began to torture his body. Her wish was for Xiao Lu's scream to turn into a song, and she ordered him to scream. Xia Kuer watched everything that was happening in horror, and only her scream was heard. Suddenly, the hero used his secret weapon, and thus the embittered spider began to retreat. Coughing heavily, she wanted to know what kind of spray he used and why she was experiencing such unbearable pain. It was a special, strong dichlorvos that helps against mosquitoes, flies, cockroaches and any other bugs. A little spray is enough to kill them all, at least that's what the seller said. The spider was in unbearable pain, it was hard for her to breathe, and gradually she began to choke. Soon, her body began to disappear completely, and only a dark something remained. Meanwhile, Xiao Lu here is a spray, and thought that the seller really did not deceive him. One click, one killing of an insect. The brave guy approached the girl and said that he had come to save her, after which he asked not to be afraid, because everything was over, and now they were safe. At the same time, the hero felt that Xia Kuer was clinging to him too closely. Xiao Sun immediately realized that something was clearly wrong with the girl. The girl asked to hug her and hold her tighter. As it turns out, they put a spell on her that if they don't find an antidote, she will feel like fire is creeping into her brain until she hurts herself. This state was similar to the mental disorder of the boss's sister, but the succubus died, and Xiao Lu didn't quite understand where he should now look for an antidote. There was only one way to extract the antidote, but in this case the hero would have to sacrifice himself. He couldn't believe that he had to do something so shameful. If he removed her without permission, he would be a criminal. This is all just to save her, and Xiao Lu asked Xiao Sun to leave the room, but she couldn't leaving him alone because he is completely inexperienced, which is why she has to mentor him. The embarrassed hero tried to explain to the mysterious girl that he did not need her help with this. He had seen how this was done in a couple of Japanese videos, so he could handle this task himself. Xiao Sun was against it because videos alone are not enough. What if something goes wrong, and she wanted to help. Some time later, Xiao Lu asked Xiao Sun not to talk about sacrificing himself anymore because he might misunderstand this expression. A caring mysterious girl began to bandage the hero's hand because she must take care of his health. Thus, Xia Kuer drank the guy's blood, and everything should be fine with her, because his blood contains the purest vital energy. One sip is enough to neutralize any poison. The skeptical guy wanted to know if his blood had any side effects, but Xiao Sun asked him not to joke like that, because his blood is the best in the world, and it cannot have any side effects. Besides, after his blood, no guys other than him would be attracted to her, but that certainly couldn't be called a side effect, Xiao Sun thought. Some time later, Xia Kuer finally woke up and began screaming in alarm not to kill anyone. She was worried that Xiao Lu was there, but now everything was fine, and the worthless succubus was defeated. In short, the hero explained that they had gotten rid of Gan Wei Wei and everyone was now safe. Worried, Xia Kuer still didn't think they were safe because the spirit girl was still flying above the hero's head. Xiao Sun was angry at this statement, because she did not consider herself a spirit girl, because there was no girl as beautiful as her. It turned out that due to the fact that Xia Kuer drank Xiao Lu's blood, she now has the ability to see spirits because her body has changed. Since she can now see Xiao Sun, the hero can no longer hide anything. A few minutes later, having told the whole story, he apologized to the girl for dragging her into all this, and the succubus grabbed her because of him. Xia Kuer thought that if Xiao Lu had not told all this, and she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would never have believed in her life that there was an evil creature like this succubus in this world. Fortunately, the hero dealt with the succubus, and this should not happen again in the future. Xiao Sun at the same time reminded him that in this world it was not the only succubus, in the future other succubi will appear and attack him. The indignant hero began to say that this succubus was enough for him, and he did not want to meet with others like him in the future. All this is because the blooming immortals are the worst enemies of succubi. This is the punishment for the forbidden love between heaven and earth. Even if both parties do not seek a meeting, they will still sometimes bump into each other. Then Xiao Lu wanted to understand, if someone appeared again, with whom it would be also difficult to deal with, what would he do then, and Xia Kuer then offered her help. since she already knows about the evil creatures in this world, she cannot just ignore it. Turning sharply, the guy said that he was very grateful for her kindness, but she was an ordinary person, it would be too dangerous for her. The girl claimed that she was not afraid of danger, but the hero insisted that no means no. Xiao Sun decided to stop their argument and said that ordinary people cannot resist succubi, but if Miss Xia follows cultivation, she can make her extraordinary. Without hesitation, Xia Kuer agreed. Stepping aside, Xiao Lu was indignant, because he did not understand that Xia Kuer could cultivate. He did not want her to love many men, because he should not drag her down this dark path. Everything was not so simple, and Xiao Sun had another book. It was called the Heart Sutra of the Beautiful Virgin, a method for innocent maidens to cultivate. This book was created a long time ago by the blooming immortals. Confused with awkwardness, the hero smiled, because he initially misunderstood his companion. But soon, he still found a problem, and it was not the cultivation method, but that they should not drag innocence into their problems. Meanwhile, Xiao Sun was already handing over the book, and Xia Kuer thanked the master, because she was going to work hard to wipe out all the succubi from the face of the earth. Sighing heavily, the hero realized that so be it, in any case, it would be very difficult to cope with the succubi alone. All this time, someone was watching the heroes and thinking that mortal enemies, an affair of cursed love, were just fairy tales to deceive people, and the unknown person did not believe in it. Some time later, Xiao Lu and Ling Ling were eating at home. The younger sister asked her brother not to use the phone while he was at the table. The brave hero at the same time warned her that he was almost finished. As it turned out, he corresponded with Xia Kuer and told her about Qigong. It was too long to explain, so today after class, he wanted to teach the girl this. The girl began to blackmail him that he would have to wait too long, and Xiao Lu agreed to go. Due to the fact that the hero had important things to do at the university, he needed to leave early, so he told his sister. The girl didn't understand what had happened, that he didn't even finish his breakfast. His brother was acting weirder and weirder. A few dozen minutes later, Lin Lin was walking down the street with her classmate, and the girl noticed that her friend was somehow sad. It's all because of her older brother. In the past, he never hid anything from her, but now, as if he was not telling something, in the morning at breakfast, he sat on the phone the whole time and didn't even finish eating. The friend thought his brother finally had a girlfriend and she thought it was passionate love between the two of them. Little sister Ling Ling never expected to hear this, and the answer shocked her. The friend thought that her older brother, after all, was a university student. It was normal for him to have a girlfriend, but the younger sister was afraid that some bad woman could seduce her brother, in which case the girl should pass her test. Suddenly, they heard a strong blow. One of the guys who studied at their school began to be bullied. Ling Ling immediately realized that it was Wu Fei from the class, and for some reason she bullied the guy. A friend asked the girl not to interfere. This girl who beats him is Zhao Yanan, from the 12th grade. She fell in with a bad company outside of school, and they should not get involved in this situation. Outraged, Zhao Yanan asked Wu Fei how he dared not pay for a month's protection. And then she ordered the guys to show him what the consequences are if you don't pay the money on time. A moment later, Ling Ling began to shout to the police that there was a fight going on here. The hooligans began to run away, and Zhao Yanan shouted after him that if the guy did not pay before the end of class, then he should get ready, because he would go home without clothes. The friend thought Ling Ling was very brave because she thought of deceiving the hooligans by pretending that the police were nearby, but the girl knew that those who think bad things think like the guilty, so just hearing about the police, they will run away with their tail between their legs. Recognizing the guy, the girl approached him and asked if everything was okay with him, if he was hurt. The embarrassed guy stood rooted to the spot, and did not know at all what to answer her. The girl at the same time said that he was a guy and should be braver. If they continue to bully him like this, then they should tell the teachers, and Ling Ling was going to prove that he was right. Some time later, they found themselves in class, and Wu Fei was closely watching Ling Ling. As it turned out, he was painting a portrait of his beloved, namely Ling Ling. Suddenly, someone began to snatch the drawing. The rude guy started asking the loser what he was drawing there. He shouted to the whole class that he didn't think that Wu Fei could secretly draw the beauty queen of their class, and the guy should look in the mirror, because an ugly toad cannot dream of swan meat. The lessons ended and Wu Fei was the only one sitting in the class. Someone behind him threw a piece of paper at the guy to get his attention. It was Zhao Yanan who wanted to know where her money was. The confused guy felt that he was very pathetic, and his heart wanted to explode. Wu Fei began to cry, and believed that the girl should feel this sensation and pain twice as much. The rude woman thought that the guy was trying to curse her, and began to swing her hand to hit her. Suddenly, her hand was wrapped in green lightning. That same hand did not obey its owner at all, and froze in the air. The gloating Wu Fei believed that since girls like to beat someone so hard, then they should beat themselves. With the help of his incredible magical abilities, he forced the girl to beat herself with her own hands. Today, he is her master, and Zhao Yanan will do whatever he commands. He was wearing a ring together that accumulates power coming from the wearer's anger. When the ring is overflowing with anger, the wearer gains the power to control other people. The effects dissipate when the wearer's anger in front of his opponents dries up. With all his strength, he grabbed the girl's face and pressed her to him, because he wanted her to help him take out all his anger. Some time later, Wu Fei arrived at his home, and I thought that the ring together was truly incredible. It's a pity that the power only extends to those whom he wants to take revenge on. There were many photos of his beloved Ling Ling on his computer, and he thought that if things were different, he could force Ling Ling to become his girlfriend. The next day, Ling Ling's friends talked about Zhao Yanan, who suddenly volunteered to clean the toilet, and didn't even forget about the men's toilets. The teacher approached the girl to ask what happened. She said that this was her payback to those whom she humiliated in the past, and Ling Ling thought that apparently Zhao Yanan realized that her behavior was wrong. Anyway, these were good news. The ecstatic girl turned around to look at Wu Fei, after which, she good-naturedly approached him and told him that Zhao Yanan had changed and would no longer pester him. And now he should take courage. The girl sincerely believed that he could do it. The joyful guy said that he would do everything in his power. Suddenly, another hooligan approached him and asked the loser since when he was so close to the queen of the class. And he wanted to remind Wu Fei that only he has the right to flirt with her, and people like him should stay away from her. The ring of vengeance began to gain even greater power again. And a moment later, that same bully took off his pants and threw them out the window. And then he started running around the classroom in only his shorts and shouting that he was a pervert. A few minutes later, the police arrived and wanted to detain him, but he asked not to interfere because he was a pervert. Looking at the ring, Wu Fei thought that those who bullied him would receive 100 times more humiliation in retaliation. Looking at the girl, he also told her not to worry, because he was not a loser who could be humiliated, and he would be able to protect her. The friends were discussing that every time a woman in the dining room prepares a dish with meat, there is no meat in it, and Lin Lin just said that it helps to lose weight. Wu Fei's gaze immediately turned to that same woman. A moment later, that same woman approached the students and said that she had not reported the meat, asking them to let her correct the situation. In physical education class, coach told Lin Lin that the sports day was just around the corner, and her results in the 100-meter dash were so bad, it felt like she wasn't getting enough rest or wasn't training enough to begin with. To rectify the situation, Wu Fei again used his magic ring of revenge, and immediately the coach started crying, and shouted that it was only 100 m, and he couldn't even run it in 10 seconds, he was really useless, and he really had no right to teach them. While running away from Lin Lin, the coach continued to shout that he would go and write a letter of resignation. At this very time, Wu Fei continued to observe the situation and was nearby because he did not want to let anyone humiliate Ling Ling. Classes finally ended, and Ling Ling's gaze darted to the side, all because Xiao Lu, her beloved brother, came to her. The joyful little sister wanted to know why he came to her today. At this very time, someone started taking pictures of Ling Ling and Xiao Lu with a mobile phone. It was Wu Fei who didn't understand why this guy was so close to Ling Ling and was going to give him hell. Using his magic ring, he used the maximum charge. The hero's gaze darted to the side because something caught his attention. Xiao Sun also noticed that she smelled a succubus nearby. Meanwhile, Ling Ling reminded her brother that the girls at her school were still underage. If he tried to do anything to them, the police would arrest him. The caring brother pinched his sister on the cheek and said that he was not going to do anything with her classmates. And I also wanted to ask my sister if anything strange happened at school today. As she began to remember, the girl realized that something strange had happened this morning. The last thing that happened was in physical education. The teacher burst into tears and wanted to quit. The girl didn't know what came over him, and Xiao Sun immediately realized that the succubus was controlling the minds of all these people, and he was still hiding somewhere in the school. Ling Ling was scared and she hugged her brother. She was afraid that she might someday stop being herself and start doing strange things, but as long as Xiao Lu is next to her, no one dares to harm her. Enmity between Xiao Lu and Wu Fei erupted out of a desire to protect Ling Ling. 3 days later, Lin Lin took part in a sports festival that was held at their school. To figure out the succubus hiding in the school, Xia Kuer and Xiao Lu pretended to be schoolchildren and took advantage of the chaos of the festival to infiltrate the school. Meanwhile, Xiao Lu was telling the president that she really shouldn't have gone with him, but the girl insisted that it was all for Ling Ling's safety. Besides, this is her old school, and she can't ignore the fact that there is a succubus hiding somewhere here, and the guy shouldn't worry. After cultivation, she can fight with him and won't be a burden. Xia Kuer, meanwhile, was thinking that the outfit she was wearing was very tight, and had she really gained so much weight in a year that she no longer fit into her uniform? A moment later, someone started talking to the girl and called her a beauty, after which he asked what class she was from. One of the high school students had never seen her before, so he wanted to meet her. The indignant girl ordered the arrogant guy to get out of sight and not bother her anymore. The arrogant guy continued to pester him and said that a rose with thorns, in this school no one has the right to talk to him like that, because he was called a tyrant for a reason. Absolutely without hesitation, the girl took the impudent man and with all her strength threw him onto the floor head down. After wiping her hands, Xia Kuer clarified that the nickname Turtle is more suitable for him. Some students noticed that there was a fight and some girl was beating up a guy. The high school student began to cry and said that the girl and the guy tried to take money from him, and when he refused, they began to beat him. Because of the slander, Xia Kuer immediately put the guy in a painful lock on the head, and Xiao Lu noticed that if she continued to press his arm, she would break it in this way. The girl would like this, because freaks like him spoil the prestige of the school. Meanwhile, the hero noticed his sister immediately approaching, and he asked the girl to leave quickly, because her sister shouldn't notice them. Immediately, they were approached by a physical education teacher who asked 2 students to go with him to the teacher's lounge. In order to prevent a problem with dire consequences from breaking out, Xia Kuer and Xiao Lu headed to the office with the physical education teacher. They also thought that if they ran away, they would spend another day searching for succubi in vain. If the teacher started digging, he would find out who they were. Due to the fact that there is a sports festival at the school, there will be no one in the teacher's room except them, and you should quickly deal with the teacher, and then continue to look for traces of the succubus. After opening the door to the teacher's room, the girl and guy were stunned by what they saw. There were many hooligans waiting for them in the office, and Zhao Yan'an even had a knife. Xia Kuer immediately reprimands them, because even when they are in the staff room they behave like bandits. The impudent Zhao Yan'an spat in the girl's direction and said that she doesn't dare meddle in her business, because she hates such beauties, behind whom guys line up, because they are the most arrogant. At the same time, Xia Kuer hated girls like her, because girls who don't like to study push themselves to commit sins, they have the smallest brains. The hooligan wanted to see if the girl in love could be as arrogant if she left a few scars on her. The girl was amazed that the hooligan in the teacher's office was able to get a knife, as if she had completely lost her mind. As it turned out, the physical education teacher was at the same time with them, because the students did not obey at all, and it was necessary to teach them a lesson, and not just the 2 of them. They made noise, and should stand still, because he wanted to show why you need to listen to teachers. Meanwhile, Wu Fei himself, who was in charge of the entire process, was watching everything that was happening. He gloated and was pleased that the performance was just beginning. Going back in time, the events took place shortly before. Earlier, Xiao Lu almost discovered Wu Fei, but he hid and realized that this guy is not like everyone else. He feels his powers, so he will have to change his plan for revenge. That is why, after a little beating, he decided to use the wheel together and show him what the consequences of stealing his goddess could be. Suddenly Xiao Sun appeared and warned the heroes that she felt the aura of a succubus on these guys. Their consciousness was under control. The brave guy shielded the girl with him and asked her to stand behind him to allow him to deal with them. The girl also shone with her courage, and asked to leave them to her, and at the same time to check how her cultivation was going. Xiao Sun also confirmed that the lady has the strength of 10 people. These are just ordinary people who are under the control of the succubus, they are not her opponents anyway. With a deft movement of her hand, Xia Kuer pulled the knife out of Zhao Yanan's hands. Looking angrily at the girl, Lady also shouted that her mother should have told her as a child that girls should not play with knives. The brazen hooligan ordered her friends not to stand like a pillar, but also to attack the girl. The hooligans immediately attacked the girl, but she could easily dodge each of their blows. Suddenly, Fizrik himself caught the girl from behind and began to block her neck with his hands in order to begin to choke her. Using the strength of 10 people, she was easily able to knock him over and throw him many meters forward, because he did not dare touch her body. Confused, Zhao Yanan was on her knees and did not understand what to do next. Xia Kuer herself didn't have a scratch on her, she was easily able to defeat 3 people, because she had the strength of 10. Wu Fei began to worry, and did not understand where such a strong girl came from. Just like a black widow, she ruined all his plans, and now he did not know what to do. He also realized that fear is the lot of the weak, only hatred can give a person strength. He should accept hatred in his heart and it will burn everything. As if possessed, Wu Fei began to repeat that he must take revenge. Approaching the hooligan, the girl said that if Zhao Yanan were a girl, she would end up like these, and in the future, she should take better care of herself. Looking at each other, the heroes did not understand where the succubus was, because they had defeated all opponents. The succubus set a trap for them, but it was unknown why he himself did not come to look. For sure he was watching everything from the security room. They should go and check if he was there. Xia Kuer was sincerely glad that the hero figured this out on his own, and admitted that he was really smart. Due to the fact that Xia Kuer drank Xiao Lu's blood, from that moment on, she sincerely admires him forever. She, without noticing it, exaggerates his strengths. From the outside it will seem that she is simply admiring him. The hero was not entirely comfortable, but he still decided to go to the security room, because if they didn't hurry, the succubus might escape. Suddenly, the door swung open in front of them. It was the same succubus, around which there was a dark aura, and he looked angrily at the couple. Looking at the succubus, Xia Kuer couldn't believe that it was him, because judging by his beauty, it's unlikely. Watching the heroes, the embittered Wu Fei felt terrible anger and a sense of rage. And he believed that anyone who dared to call him a freak should die. With the power of thought, he began to throw many objects, lifting them with the help of his magical abilities. Fortunately, Xiao Lu was able to easily fend off each of the brazen succubus attacks. The caring guy asked the president if she was okay, and she really was because he was able to protect her. Horrified, Zhao Yanan began to run away. She literally begged to be saved because she felt incredible fear. Meanwhile, Wu Fei stopped her and said that there was nothing to be afraid of, because only hatred would give her strength. Experiencing strong anger, the guy was easily able to turn an ordinary girl into a monster, because now instead of nails she had sharp claws. From that moment on, the girl began to crave only revenge and immediately wanted to attack. Xia Kuer really let her go, because she is a girl. Now she thinks that she won't have to let her go again. 2 incredibly strong girls began to attack each other, and ran to deliver crushing blows. A fight began. The heroine wanted to kick, but the mutant easily dodged. With the help of her newfound power, the girl had abilities that she did not have before. Taking advantage of Xia Kuer's distraction, Zhao Yanan attacked her shoulder with her claws. And also, she wanted to spoil the girl's face, so that her own mother would not recognize her. The hero feared for the girl's life and began to run to her aid. Suddenly, some object began to fall on him, because magic was used on it. Fortunately, with the help of his reaction, the hero was able to dodge and did not fall under the falling huge cabinet. I grin, the succubus said that the enemy is right in front of him. And again he began to use his abilities to defeat Xiao Lu. With the help of incredibly strong magic, he raised many sharp objects into the air, and wanted to attack the hero with all of them. With lightning speed, many sharp objects were fired like darts directly at the main character. Using his reaction and skills, the guy immediately began to dodge many objects. Wu Fei asked the hero not to be afraid. Before piercing his heart, he would torment his entire body, otherwise his anger would not go away. At the same time, the guy understood that in order to defeat this abnormal man, he first needed to close the distance, but this bunch of hands stood in his way, and he didn't quite understand what to do. Upon discovering the water tank, Xiao Lu immediately had an idea that she could use to win. This smart guy immediately began to hide behind the water tank. The succubus only laughed, because he believed that the hero would not be safe in this way. Meanwhile, the handles fell into the water tank, thereby destroying it. The demon also shouted that Xiao Lu was now like a wet dog, the kind he should never be around Ling Ling. What he heard shocked the hero, and he immediately wanted to know which Ling Ling he was talking about. Spreading his arms, the succubus said that he was talking about his goddess, Lu Ling Ling, and would not allow other guys to approach her because she was his girlfriend. Feeling very angry, Xiao Lu could not tolerate this and began to attack. Seeing that they were approaching him, the succubus began to laugh, because the hero would not be able to close the distance to fight in close combat, because the pen would overtake his body much faster. Many flying objects again struck the hero, but he continued to run. Unfortunately, indeed, the hands that were thrown by the succubus got stuck in the hero's body, but Wu Fei realized with horror that the pens were just stuck in his shirt. Because his shirt was made of ice, which covered half of his body, his clothes became frozen. He made himself an ice armor to stop his attacks. The hero's rage knew no bounds, because the scoundrel dared to fight for the heart of her little sister. What he heard shocked the guy. He didn't know that it was his sister. With a powerful and single blow, Xiao Lu was easily able to neutralize the impudent Wu Fei. But this was not the end, and this was followed by a series of blows that were supposed to destroy the succubus. Because of everything that happened, the hero couldn't just let the demon go. The defeated insolent lay unconscious and could not say a word. The ring flew off his finger during the blow and was no longer on his hand. Xia Kuer approached the hero and asked what happened here, because the girl who was against her simply fell unconscious. All because the owner fell unconscious, and the puppets immediately lost the ability to fight. Suddenly, the girl discovered that some kind of ring was lying on the floor, and in order to take a closer look at it, she picked it up. Immediately she realized that it was an unusual ring and wanted to wear it. Fearing that something terrible would happen, the hero immediately took it away. Having said that it is impossible, because there was really something wrong with this ring, Xiao Lu, holding the ring in his hands, felt unusual energy from it. The companion immediately said that her owner was right. This is a cursed object, enchanted by a powerful succubus. It allows the wearer to gain dark powers. This guy could not be a strong succubus, but was an ordinary person. All his powers appeared thanks to the ring. And then, the heroes decided to wait until Wu Fei woke up to ask him where he got the ring. With the help of magical abilities, the heroes decided to speed up his awakening, and squished a small amount of water directly in his face. Literally a moment later the impudent man jumped up and was conscious. The angry heroes watched as the impudent man awakened. The beaten boy begged not to beat him, and said that it was all his fault. Bowing down to him, Xiao Lu immediately said that maybe he wouldn't hit him, but only if he honestly told where he got the ring, otherwise, he would have to teach him a lesson for meddling with his sister. The frightened guy even wet his pants out of fear. By coincidence, he wet himself, and if he lies to them, the hero will freeze this water. Embarrassed, the guy covered himself and said that he would tell absolutely everything, and there was no point in doing this. As it turned out, he received the ring a week ago. Earlier he was walking down the street and thought that if he didn't pay for the defense tomorrow, he would be beaten again, but he didn't understand where he could get the money. The merchant sitting opposite him turned to Wu Fei and told him to come over and look at his goods. That same merchant noticed that his things fall into the hands of only special people, and he saw that the guy was special. Having become interested, the boy wanted to understand what special or not special means. The seller spoke as if he were selling books with the secrets of martial arts, but this is the same ordinary ring. The merchant noticed that the student had a good eye. Fortunately, this ring of revenge suits him perfectly. It will help him take revenge on anyone he wishes. Wu Fei was skeptical about this and wanted to know who this merchant was and how he knew that the guy wanted to take revenge on someone. The mysterious man said that it doesn't matter who he is, the only important thing is that by wearing this ring, he will gain the power of revenge. With surprise, the guy looked at the ring and thought about whether, by wearing this ring, he could really gain the power of revenge. Suddenly, the merchant seemed to disappear, and Wu Fei could not understand how this happened, because just now he was right in front of him. Then he realized that he could use the ring together to control people. At first he thought that Xiao Lu was Ling Ling's boyfriend, so he wanted to do harm with the help of this ring, but he didn't know that he was her brother. Because of this he asked for forgiveness. After listening to the guy's story, Xia Kuer realized that he really wasn't lying, but then it was unknown why the succubus gave him the ring. Xiao Sun noticed that the actions of strong succubi are difficult to explain. With so much information, it's too early to build a theory. Such dark things are dangerous, they cannot be allowed to remain in the hands of people with bad intentions, and the hero wanted to know if it was possible to somehow destroy the ring. Xiao Sun said that the power of the blooming immortals is the direct opposite of a succubus, he just needs to try to infuse his power into this ring. A moment later, the hero began to use his magical abilities to destroy the ill-fated ring. During the destruction of the ring, Wu Fei began to experience incredible pain. As it turned out, after the destruction of the ring, the owner will have everything that happened to him while wearing the ring. To summarize, they need to keep the risks to Ling Ling to a minimum, so they need to leave here early before anyone comes here. Events continued to take place outside the building. Some mysterious lady watched what was happening and thought that everything was becoming more and more interesting. There were immediately knocks on the door. It was Ling Ling who was called by Madam. She turned to the girl because she saw her profile. Her current guardian is her brother. After the death of her parents, he did not care all the time. The woman noticed that he really is a good brother, but despite this, the documents say that he is a university student. Most likely, a considerable burden now lies on his shoulders. Starting to get nervous, the sister realized that because of her, he really had to go through a lot to pay off his debts. He even got such a nasty part-time job, and he also owed Sister Xia a lot of money. The woman had a part-time job that would suit her brother, the pay was very good, although she was not sure that he would be interested in her. Arriving home, Lin Lin told her brother that he was offered to become a tutor. All that is required of him is to go and teach one student in the evenings, this will not affect his grades in any way, and the payment is 10,000 yuan per month. The hero didn't understand why Mrs. Wang would recommend him as a tutor, but his sister thought that she was just very kind and knew about their situation, so she was trying to help. But the guy also understood that he had never worked as a tutor before. And also, my sister knew that he had never worked in such vulgar places and still very quickly became their trump card. He agreed to that disgusting job, but refuses a worthy one. The caring brother still agreed, he wanted to try to become a tutor, but first he needed to find books from high school. Lin Lin wanted that as soon as she entered the university, she would definitely find herself a part-time job, because she didn't want him to continue to be like this hard. Calling his sister stupid, he explained to the hero that it's not hard for him at all, and if she really worries about him, then she needs to study well, and there's no need to worry about money. Some time later, Miss Wang arrived and told the hero that he shouldn't put off work until later, he should sit down, because she was going to take him to the student. The sister was incredibly glad that the hero agreed to her proposal. The woman was delighted that brother and sister were so attached to each other. Getting into the car, Xiao Lu said that Ling Ling said that the woman takes care of her during school, and now she offered him a job. He didn't even know how to thank her. The woman believed that if he agreed to this job, then it would be best thanks. After all, the student's personality itself is a little unusual. It was Lin Bao'er, she previously won the Perfect Idol competition, the hero saw her on TV, the number of votes exceeded the second place twice, she is a kind of star of her generation, and Lin Lin is her fan. Hearing this, the woman was delighted, because she realized that she had not made a mistake in the tutor, he had not even begun to teach her, but already understood her so well, and would definitely be a good teacher. A few minutes later, they were already standing near the student's door. Together with the woman, they stood and waited for the girl to open the door. The girl, not expecting anything, opened the door and looked in surprise at the company that came to her. And soon she was very happy, because her aunt came. The woman considered her very mature, but still she behaved like a child, and now she will have a new teacher. The girl immediately greeted the new teacher. As it turned out, Lin Bao'er cannot go to school because of her work, and the woman is too busy and therefore she needed a reliable person who could become her tutor, which is why the guy needs to take care of her. The good-natured woman wanted to go away so as not to interfere with the girl's studies, and asked her to study hard and try hard. Milady was also delighted and said goodbye to her aunt. Realizing that Lin Bao'er was already 18 years old, the hero wanted to take a 12th grade test to check her level. And then, the girl wanted to ask the teacher something. Namely, I wanted to find out whether he was experienced in his field. At the same time, Xiao Sun appeared and noticed that this girl was active and also beautiful. Confused, the hero did not want to answer this question. And then Lin Bao'er coquettishly began to ask questions. She wanted to know what kind of girls he likes, sweet, innocent, stubborn. No matter what kind of girls he likes, she can play anyone perfectly. Taking the book in his hands, the hero hit the girl on the head and said that he likes girls who study hard, and he quickly needs to finish the test, because if she continues to play around, he will tell her aunt everything. The upset girl listened to the teacher, but asked not to tell her aunt that when she gets angry, she becomes very scared. With joy, the girl handed over the sheet of dough and said that she was finished. The hero was noticeably surprised, because he did not expect the girl to complete the test so quickly. As it turned out, she was strong in mathematics. After checking the test, the hero saw that she scored only 60 points. But the girl was happy with this result, because 60 points was the passing minimum. Smiling and a little angry, the hero said that this test has a maximum of 150 points, and thought that although she is a talented actress, she is quite stupid. Apparently, being a tutor is not as easy as he thought. A whole hour passed, during which time Xiao Lu was able to explain to the girl all the mistakes from her test. They were done for today, and tomorrow they will be able to get other items. Lin Bao'er was against the guy leaving and asked him to stay a little longer because she had a PlayStation 4 and wanted to play with her teacher. The time was already late, and if the hero did not hurry up, his younger sister would worry. The girl should also stop playing and go to bed early. In surprise, the student asked if the hero really has a younger sister. The hero said that she is her same year and is in high school, and is also her fan, so since he is her tutor, he will definitely put all his efforts into teaching her, because doesn't want his sister's idol to fail the university entrance exam. As it turned out, this was all a test, and the girl apologized to the teacher for the jokes, because if he had not passed this test, he would have been in trouble because she had a stun gun. Smiling, the hero immediately realized that if this girl was speaking, then apparently he had passed her by. This was indeed the case, and besides, she was quite interested in Xiao Lu. Fearing verification, the hero immediately realized that the girl was mocking him again. Apparently, he would have to give her more homework tomorrow. Without hesitation, the girl reiterated that she was not joking. As soon as Lin Bao'er lay down in bed, she began to think that she had worked very well today, and would probably sleep like a log. The bear that was sitting on her windowsill began to seem to be watching her, his eyes glowing green. Events continued to happen the next day, and the hero rang the girl's doorbell. Some time later there were no answers, and the guy thought that no one was home. A few seconds later, the student herself arrived, looking worried, and apologized for the wait. Observing the girl's behavior, the guy immediately realized that something was wrong with her. Suddenly, the girl began to fall. He walked crookedly, and her legs seemed to give way. Surprised, Xiao Lu didn't understand what was wrong with the girl's leg. The thing was that when she woke up, she felt pain in her leg, so strong that she didn't go anywhere all day. Judging by her condition, she cannot even walk, so the hero asked to be allowed to give him a massage, and the girl happily agreed. A little afraid of the girl's reaction, he said that he once worked in a spa, and could disperse the blood in her foot, then perhaps it would decrease more. What she heard made the girl happy, and she asked to massage her leg. The lady really wanted the teacher to demonstrate his technique. Meanwhile, the guy started doing massage and tried his best to help the girl. She was shocked and embarrassed, after which she immediately realized that the hero really had talent, because the pain had completely gone away. Xiao Lu said that the girl received only a couple of abrasions, possibly due to uncomfortable shoes. But overall everything is fine, and he decided to apply a plaster. If he doesn't disturb his leg, then everything will go away in a couple of days. The girl was not happy with the patch she saw, because it was not cute at all. The concentrated heroes asked to calm down their inner idol. Health is much more important, besides, no one will see her leg. The girl focused on the fact that the teacher was now looking at her legs and wanted to know if he liked them. At the same second, the hero pressed the middle of his foot. After this, the girl immediately exclaimed because she was in pain. Knowing this, the hero understood that it could be more painful if the girl continued to make fun of the teacher, instead of studying well. A few minutes later, they continued to study, and the guy discovered that the girl was a much better student and did not make the same mistakes yesterday. The lady believed that since she had done a good job, then she deserved a reward. Xiao Lu immediately clarified that if this did not go beyond what was permitted, then he could fulfill her request. As if fearing something, the girl asked the hero to sleep with her that night. Hearing such a request, the hero immediately assumed that she was bullying again, but the girl said that she was not mocking, but only wanted to ask the guy to leave after she fell asleep, because she was scared. Lately, she's been having nightmares all the time, and she had one last night too. In her dreams, the image came to her that she was preparing for a wedding. They put her in a pink chic dress, but for some reason she was alarmed. The anxiety came because her lover was a terrible monster. Seeing him, the girl felt frantic fear. The monster said that he knows about Lin Bao-er's dream, that she dreams of having a wedding like in a fairy tale. For her sake, he prepared it. Together with the monster, they began to walk along the red carpet, and many different cartoon characters greeted them. Soon, the monster wanted to know why only girls were visiting, but not a single guy. The worried lady said that there was no need to worry, because she had already sent the invitations. The horse prince and the toad prince would be best men at this wedding. The monster understood that the groomsmen were not what she expected. After all, he could never allow a man more beautiful than him to be at this wedding. What she heard terrified the girl, and she did not know how to react to it. She knew it was a nightmare and she had to get out of here. I ran away in a dream. She didn't understand what was happening and why her legs didn't obey her. The monster knew that she loved to dance, and so he ordered this pair of red shoes for her. Before the ceremony began, he wanted to dance to his heart's content. It was noticeable that the lady did not want this at all, and she shouted about it to the monster. Lin Bao-er thought it was just a nightmare, but the next morning when she woke up, her leg hurt very badly. Xiao Sun appeared and explained that if it were an ordinary nightmare, she would not have been injured in any way in life. Besides, harming people through their dreams is the style of succubi. A moment later, the guy already agreed and asked the girl not to be afraid, because he was going to be with her, and today, he would leave after she fell asleep. Night came, and it was necessary to go to bed. The guy sat opposite the girl and waited for her to fall asleep. The wary lady wanted to understand what she should do if the nightmare happened again. In a calm tone, the hero said that he could protect her. But the girl didn't quite understand how he could protect her in a dream. The guy asked her to think about him, and then he would be able to help in a dream. And this meant that she needed to look at the hero more in order to think about him easier. Literally a few seconds later, the girl had already fallen asleep, and it was immediately clear that something was wrong here. The eyes of the bear that was standing on the windowsill began to glow green again. Xiao Sun immediately discovered this and reported to the master. The succubus aura of this toy is exactly the same as that of the revenge ring. To find out how he harms people, you will have to destroy this bear, and the hero began to use his magical abilities on him. Wary Xiao Sun asked the hero not to do this, because if he destroys the bear now, then they will not be able to save Lin Bao-er from the nightmare. That's why they should see if they can wake her up first. Diligently, the hero began to wake up the girl, and sweat flowed down her face. It was clear that she was having a nightmare. She did not wake up because Lin Bao-er fell into a dream created by the forces of the succubus controlling this bear. We must hope that this person will free the girl from the Osnaz, otherwise there is no way to avoid death. Then the hero realized that they could wait for the morning. As soon as this man freed Lin Bao-er, he would immediately destroy the toy. Indignant, Xiao Sun knew that perhaps they did not have time to wait any longer. Judging by her words, the ceremony was supposed to take place today. If she actually married this monster, she would 100% fall in love with this person playing this monster in life. Xiao Lu couldn't let that bastard touch Lin Bao-er, and wanted to know what he should do to stop the ceremony. There was only one way, to sneak into the girl's dream and disrupt the ceremony. The bear in his hand is the key to the dream. All that what you need to do is fall asleep while in his field of vision. It was then that he decided to lie down next to the girl in order to save her. Some time later, the hero woke up and found himself at the castle in which the ceremony was taking place. He needed to enter it quickly. Suddenly, the guards announced that he had no way into the castle. Mr. Monster said that only characters from fairy tales can attend the ceremony, and besides, handsome guys are not allowed to come in, but he fails both parameters. Hearing this, the guy immediately began to think that all he could do was burst in with a bang. Xiao Sun calmed him down and said that in this way he would warn the enemy. The girl wanted to deal with everything alone. And then, he asked what Xiao Sun was offering. Joyfully, she said that she would give the guards what they needed. And then, the transformation of the main character came. The soldiers were surprised, because Mr. Monster is so powerful that even characters from Oriental fairy tales came to his wedding. As it turned out, Xiao Lu transformed himself into one of the fairy tale characters in order to penetrate the castle. The worried girl started screaming that no one would want to marry a freak like him and begged him to let her go. A moment later, the priest was already asking the master of the monster if he agreed to take Lady Lin Bao'er as his wife. The monster of course agreed. And then the priest asked Lady Lin Bao'er if she agreed to marry Mr. Monster, and the girl shouted that she did not agree 1,000 times. The embittered monster looked at the priest, and he said that since Mr. Monster and Lady Lin Bao'er agree, he officially proclaims them. Suddenly, another character came in and shouted that he was against it. He was against this engagement, because it was obvious that Lin Bao'er wanted to refuse. The soldiers got angry, because they did not understand how a monkey who came from the east dared to disrupt the master's wedding. But Lin Bao'er recognized the monkey as her teacher and wanted to understand why he was here. The brave guy said that he told her earlier that he could protect her. This angered the monster even more. He could not believe what the girl said about the teacher, because next to her there could never be someone like him, but the girl explained that he is a tutor hired by her aunt, and he comes to her house every evening. Mr. Monster realized that this creature dared to be alone with Lin Bao'er while he was not looking, and he would not be able to forgive this, he would never forgive. And then Xiao Lu realized that apparently, everything would have to be resolved in a bad way. The terrifying monster asked no one to interfere, because since the heroes decided to oppose it, then it is necessary to arrange a duel, which will decide whether or not there will be a wedding. One of the monster's servants began to tie the girl's hands. And the monster also clarified that if the hero wins, he will free Lin Bao'er, and if he wins, the ceremony will continue, and the monster will destroy Xiao Lu. Xiao Sun explained that the wounds received during the dream will affect the real world, and if he kills in the dream, then in real life the hero will also be dead, but if he defeats him in the dream, then in real life he will be able to defeat his enemies. With incredible determination, the hero nevertheless accepted the challenge to a duel. Mr. Monster ordered one of the soldiers to give the sword to the duelist. Having received a brand new weapon, Xiao Lu was ready to fight with full determination. The opponent also clarified that his enemy should not worry, because in a sword fight he is always honest and there will be no tricks. The priest exclaimed, since both sides officially agree, the duel can begin. The terrible monster immediately rushed to attack, and jumped several meters up and attacked Xiao Lu. Their blades crossed and the duel was officially begun. After many blows, the monster dropped his sword and could no longer fight. Pointing the sword at his opponent, the main character announced that the enemy had lost. Lin Bao'er happily watched what was happening, and was pleased that her teacher defeated this vile monster. The gloating beast spoke about whether the hero really thought he could defeat him. Xiao Lu immediately understood that in order to win this duel, the opponent needed to break his arms and see what he was like in terms of magic. With his bare hand, the monster was able to break the sword into much smaller particles. With horror, the hero did not understand how this was possible. As it turned out, the monster forgot to mention that these clothes are protected by magic, swords and spears are not able to penetrate it. It is obvious that the guy cannot win in this duel. Seeing this, Lin Bao'er exclaimed that the monster was a fraud because this was a completely unequal duel. This was the world of an evil monster, and here it was up to him to decide what was fair and what was not. He had already given him a duel, which was already noble. Ordinary people rarely get the chance to fight with God. After the brazen statements of the scoundrel, there was an immediate blow straight to his jaw. After all, if the monster is so afraid of being hit, then why don't they wear a helmet? But a lie can't go far, a bastard like him will definitely need a helmet. A moment later, the embittered monster woke up and said that he was the creator and owner of everything in this world, and they attacked him, which means they attacked God. With lightning speed he woke up and was ready to fight again. Using his magical powers, the monster summoned a giant fireball, and as an apology, his guests will have to die. Immediately, a giant fireball began to fly straight towards Xiao Lu. Fortunately, the guy had excellent reflexes and could easily avoid the blow. But he also could not foresee that the fireballs would follow him. Seeing the glasses of wine, the hero came up with a new plan. Approaching the glasses of wine, an immediate explosion followed, which threw the hero several meters to the side. There was smoke everywhere, and it was impossible to see what really happened to the guy. The stunned girl exclaimed to find out where her teacher was. The monster continued to look at the girl angrily, and said that it was useless to scream, her teacher had already been burned to the ground. As it turned out, the monster was wrong, and the brave guy was easily able to create several ice accounts in order to protect himself from the fireballs. And all this happened because the hero wanted with all his might to protect an innocent girl. The lady was incredibly glad that her teacher was alive, and the monster underestimated the guy, because his fire would melt the ice shields in a matter of seconds, and then his time would come to die. Xiao Sun also confirmed to the master that his enemy was right, he would not be able to hold out for long, although the heroes did not want to admit it, in this world the monster cannot be defeated. Fearing for the life of the master, the companion was worried, because even if he admits that he was defeated, he still will not let him go. The brave man asked the girl not to worry, because he had come up with something, but so far he couldn't handle it on his own, so he needed help. Quickly explaining the plan, he explained that this was the only way he could think of to win, so he needed to act immediately. Meanwhile, Xiao Sun walked up behind the horse prince and addressed him. She said that she heard that 7 dwarves were going to take the drunken Snow White home. The horse got angry, because he knew that these dwarves had been planning something bad for a long time, they were getting her drunk in front of his eyes, and he needed to quickly deal with them. Now free, Lin Bao'er began to run to her teacher, because she wanted to die with him rather than marry a monster. And then Xiao Sun turned to the girl and invited her to help her teacher in battle, but Lin Bao'er explained that she did not know how to fight. Although she can't fight, it won't be difficult for a star like her to do a little acting. Without hesitation, the hero's companion explained their plan to the girl. At the same time, the frog prince sat on the floor and listened to everything they were talking about. The hero, meanwhile, bravely fought with the disgusting monster. But unfortunately, the monster's strength in this world was superior, so the fireball was able to break the ice shield and hit the guy. The exhausted guy received a crushing blow and fell to the ground, after which he lay motionless. The girl saw how her teacher was defeated and begged to let him go, but the unshakable monster did not want to let go of anyone who tried to take away her beloved, because she belongs only to him. At the same time, the lady explained that today was their lucky day and she wanted the wedding to be wonderful. The monster could not believe that his beloved agreed to marry him. The girl in turn admitted that the Lord is strong and powerful, she likes it, but his current argument frightens her very much. The monster, besotted with love, asked the lady not to worry, because he could easily turn into a handsome man, and show it right now. Well then, there will be no feelings left from their ceremony, because the wedding should be like in a fairy tale. Imitating feelings, the girl asked the monster to close his eyes, because he was looking at her like that, and it was scary. The naive monster closed his eyes and said that he was ready. A moment later, he opened his eyes, only to find something unexpected. Before his eyes was the frog prince, who was visibly nervous. Stunned by what he saw, the monster could not believe his eyes, he could not understand how his beloved could do this. The embittered Lin Bao'er ordered him not to even hope, because he could only dream of her kiss. Meanwhile, Xiaolu began to rise from the floor, and the monster insisted that he was the god of this world, everything was under his control, and the girl would be his. The heroes at that moment said that the monster had previously said that he created all the rules of this world, but if so, then he must understand how this world works, which means he must know what will happen if the prince kisses the toad. A magician with no limitations in magic and a kiss capable of dispelling any magic came together, and it was unknown which would be stronger. Despite the guy's words, the monster continued his attack and went on the attack. Suddenly, his body began to gradually shrink, and after that, he completely turned into a small toad who was in a suit. With incomprehension, the former monster observed everything that was happening, and did not understand how he turned into a toad. But rules are rules, even though he created them, he still has to obey them. Now there was no protection left for the monster, and the hero could do whatever he wanted with it. The toad noticeably began to worry, and now did not understand what would happen to it. The embittered brave men watched as the toad awaited its fate. A fight immediately broke out and the frog was defeated. A moment later, that same frog turned into a guy who shouted that he was not ready, and apologized, literally begged not to be beaten anymore. As it turned out, it was Xiao Wang who became that monster. Previously, he was the girl's assistant, whom the company assigned to him. She always trusted him, and did not think that he was capable of such a thing. Xiao Lu immediately realized that Xiao Wang was subordinate to the main villain, and it was he who brought the teddy bear to Lin Bao'er's room. The hero wanted to know where he got it. It turned out that some merchant had sold this bear to the naive guy. Previously, Xiao Wang was walking through the city, and was thinking about why people send letters to idols. As long as he is with Lin Bao'er, she will not have to waste time on them. Suddenly, some stranger came up behind the guy, and he said that he smelled envy in him. To this, Xiao Wang only said that the man was crazy, but then he said that he had something for him, something that would help him get this idol into his hands. The guy, who did not understand anything, immediately exclaimed and wanted to find out who this stranger really was and how he knew about his envy. The mysterious man explained that it doesn't matter who he is, the only important thing is to leave this bear in her bedroom, and then he will be able to invade her dreams. Everything down to the smallest details of this dream will be under his control. Everything that happens in the dream will have an effect and in the real world, so that his dreams will come true. Lin Bao'er also remembered that Xiao Wang actually said that some fan had given this bear with the wish that it would always protect his sleep, so she left it in the bedroom. The guy only did this because he loved the girl. Every time he saw a man next to her, his heart cracked, and Xiao Wang just wanted her love. Angered, the girl shouted that a scoundrel is someone who can only use mean and dirty tricks, and is not worthy of uttering the words love. The lady ordered this guy to never come into her sight again. What he heard shook the guy and greatly reduced his self-esteem. A few seconds later, it was as if an earthquake began, but it was not just an earthquake. This world was collapsing, apparently because of her words. The heart was completely broken, and he is still the owner of this world. If they do not manage to escape from the castle, this will never happen again. Wake up. And then, the brave men began to immediately run away from the collapsing castle. They quickly ran forward to the exit in order to get out of it as quickly as possible. In the real world, they gradually began to wake up. As it turned out, when they left the castle, in real life they also woke up. The brave guy began to wake up Lin Bao'er, and she wished the hero good morning. Smiling, the hero looked at her and realized that she seemed to be okay, which means he was finally done with this succubus. Suddenly a lady came in and wanted Mr. Xiao Lu to explain what was going on here, because the woman managed to catch them together in bed. I'm incredibly worried. The guy was now thinking about how he should explain all this.